Each will make his case to the American people with just over 4 months until Election Day. Good evening, I'm Dana Bash, anchor of CNN's Inside Politics and co-anchor of State of the Union.
I'm Jake Tapper, anchor of CNN's The Lead and co-anchor of State of the Union. Dana and I will co-moderate this evening. Our job is to facilitate a debate between the two candidates tonight. Before we introduce them, we want to share the rules of the debate with the audience at home. Former President Trump will be on the left side of the screen.
Let's get it. What's up, chat?
On the right.
Return it.
Coin determined their positions. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer a question and 1 minute each for responses. And
what's up, chat? We got the first one going, baby. Let's go.
Or response is at the moderator's discretion.
When it's time for a candidate to speak, his microphone will be turned on and his opponent's microphone will be turned off. Should a candidate interrupt when his microphone is muted, he will be difficult to understand for viewers at home. At the end of the debate, each candidate will get 2 minutes for closing statements.
What the hell's going on? Isn't it on right now?
This is breaking news right now.
What the hell? I don't care where we watch it.
Economy. President Biden, inflation has slowed, but prices remain high. Since you took office, the price of essentials has increased. For example, a basket of groceries that cost $100 then now costs more than $120. And typical home prices have jumped more than 30%. What do you say to voters who feel they are worse off under your presidency than they were under President Trump?
We got to take a look at what I was left when I became president and what Mr. Trump left me. We had an economy that was in free fall. The pandemic was so badly handled.
You know what I was at?
People were dying. All he said was, it's not that serious. Just inject a little bleach into your arm. You'll be all right. The economy collapsed. There were no jobs. Unemployment rate rose to 15%. It was terrible. And so what we had to do is try to put things back together again. And that's exactly what we began to do. We created 15,000 new jobs.
What up, Tyler?
We brought out...
You guys make sure to hit the like for me.
We have 800,000 new manufacturing jobs, but there's more to be done. There's more to be done. Working class people are still in trouble. I come from Scranton, Pennsylvania. I come of a household where the kitchen table, if the things weren't able to be met during the month, it was a problem. Price of eggs, the price of gas, the price of housing, the price of a whole range of things. That's why I'm working so hard to make sure
I need to,
deal
bro.
with those problems. And we're going to make sure that we reduce the price of housing. We're going to make sure we build 2 million new units. We're going to make sure we cap rents so corporate greed can't take over. The combination, what I was left with in corporate greed, is the reason why we're in this problem right now. In addition to that, we're in a situation where if you take a look at all that was done in his administration, he didn't do much at all. By the time he left, there was things were in chaos, literally chaos. And so we put things back together. We created, I said, those jobs. We make sure we had a situation where we brought down the price of prescription drugs, which is a major issue for many people, to $15 for a insulin shot as opposed to $400. No senior has to pay more than $200 for any drug, all the drugs they can include beginning next year. And the situation is and we're going to make that available to everybody, to all Americans. So we're working to bring down the
Big Pharma
on the kitchen table, and that's what we're going to get done.
Thank you, President Trump.
We have the greatest economy in the history of our country. We have never done so well. Everybody was amazed by it. Other countries were copying us. We got hit with COVID, and when we did, we spent the money necessary so we wouldn't end up in a Great Depression, the likes of which we had in 1929. By the time we finished, so we did a great job. We got a lot of credit for the economy, a lot of credit for the military, and no wars, and so many other things. Everything was rocking good. But the thing we never got the credit for, and we should have, is getting us out of that COVID mess. He created mandates that was a disaster for our country. But other than that, we had given them back a country where the stock market actually was higher than pre-COVID, and nobody thought that was even possible. The only jobs he created are for illegal immigrants and bounce back jobs, a bounce back from the COVID. He has not done a good job. He's done a poor job, and inflation's killing our country. It is absolutely killing us.
Thank you. President Biden?
Well, look, the greatest economy in the world, he's the only one who thinks that, I think. I don't know anybody else who thinks he had the greatest economy in the world. And, you know, the fact of the matter is that we found ourselves in a situation where his economy, he rewarded the wealthy. He had the largest tax cut in American history, $2 trillion. He raised a deficit larger than any president has in any one term. He's the only president other than Herbert Hoover who's lost more jobs
right, dude,
than he had when he
seriously.
began, since Herbert Hoover. The idea that he did something that was significant. And the military, you know, when he was president, they were still killing people in Afghanistan. He didn't do anything about that. When he was president, we were still finding ourselves in a position where you had a notion that we were this safe country. The truth is, I'm the only president this century that doesn't have this decade, that doesn't have any troops dying anywhere in the world like he did.
President Trump, I want to follow up.
He doesn't
if I
believe
can.
that.
He
He does not believe that.
Well, I'm going to ask you a follow-up. You can do whatever you want with the minute that we give you. I want to follow up. You want to impose a 10% tariff on all goods coming into the U.S. How will you ensure that that doesn't drive prices even higher?
It's not going to drive them higher. It's just going to cost countries that have been ripping us off for years, like China and many others, in all fairness to China. It's going to just force them to pay us a lot of money, reduce our deficit tremendously, and give us a lot of power for other things. But he made a statement. The only thing he was right about is I gave you the largest
10 seconds, killed him.
in history. I also gave you the largest regulation cut in history. That's why we had all the jobs. And the jobs went down, and then they bounced back, and he's taking credit for bounce back jobs. You can't do that. He also said he inherited 9% inflation. No, he inherited almost no inflation, and it stayed that way for 14 months, and then it blew up under his
everybody,
leadership
please
because
make sure to hit the
really
like.
A bunch of people that didn't know what they were doing, and they don't know what they were doing. It was probably the worst administration in history. There's never been. And as far as Afghanistan is concerned, I was getting out of Afghanistan, but we were getting out with dignity, with strength, with power. He got out. It was the most embarrassing day in the history of our country's life.
President Trump, over the last 8 years, under both of your administrations, the national debt soared to record highs.
He just killed him.
New
He killed him.
nonpartisan analysis, President Trump, your administration approved $8.4 trillion in new debt, while so far, President Biden, you've approved $4.3 trillion in new debt. So, former President Trump, many of the tax cuts that you signed into law are set to expire next year. You want to extend them and go even further, you say. With the U.S. facing trillion-dollar deficits and record debt, why should top earners and corporations pay even less in taxes than they do now?
Because the tax cuts spurred the greatest economy that we've ever seen just prior to COVID. And even after COVID, it was so strong that we were able to get through COVID much better than just about any other country. But we spurred, that tax spurred. Now, when we cut the taxes, as an example, the corporate tax was cut down to 21% from 39%, plus beyond that. We took in more revenue with much less tax, and companies were bringing back trillions of dollars back into our country. The country was going like never before, and we were ready to start paying down debt. We were ready to start using the liquid gold right under our feet, the oil and gas right under our feet.
Already,
we were
DJ.
going to have something that nobody else has had. We got hit with COVID. We did a lot to fix it. I gave him.
I'm gonna see how much I can
unbelievable
smoke to get like
situation
Uncle
with
Sleepy
all
Joe.
of the therapeutics and all of the things that we came up with.
He's
we
pissed.
gave him
Look how
something
pissed
great.
he is.
Remember, more people died
I don't
under his
think so.
administration, even though we had largely fixed it. More people died
Yep.
under his administration than our administration, and we were right in the middle of it. Something which a lot
Hit
of
the
people
like,
don't
everybody,
like to talk
please.
about. But he had far more people dying in his administration.
He's
he did the
pissed.
mandate, which is a disaster, mandating it. The vaccine went out. He did a mandate on the vaccine, which is the thing that people most objected to about the vaccine.
Without a
And
doubt.
he did a very poor
Monica,
job. Just a very
hey,
poor
beautiful.
job. And I will tell you, not only poor there, but throughout the entire world, we're no longer respected as a country. They don't respect our leadership. They don't respect the United States anymore.
These are
We're
just
like
facts.
A third world nation, between weaponization of his election, trying to go after his political opponent, all of the things he's done, we've become like a third world nation, and it's a shame. The damage he's done to our country, and I'd love to ask him, and will, why he allowed millions of people to come in here from prisons, jails, and mental institutions to come into our country and destroy our country.
President Trump, we will get to immigration later in this block. President Biden, I want to give you an opportunity to respond to this question about the national debt.
He had the largest national debt of any president in a 4-year period, number one. Number two, that $2 trillion tax cut benefited the very wealthy. Now, what I'm going to do is fix the tax system. For example, we have 1,000 trillionaires in America. Billionaires in America. And what's happening? They're in a situation where they, in fact, pay 8.2% in taxes. If they just paid 24%, 25%, either one of those numbers, they'd raise $500 billion, I should say, in a 10-year period. We'd be able to wipe out his debt. We'd be able to help make sure that all those things we need to do, child care, elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our health care system.
Thousands of trillions, guys, like Greg. You got something, Tyler.
Person.
He's just throwing numbers out.
With the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with.
Anyway,
if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death. And he's destroying Medicare because all of these people are coming in. They're putting them on Medicare. They're putting them on Social Security. They're going to destroy Social Security. This
what
man
up,
is
Mike?
going to
How you doing, bro?
destroy Social Security. These millions and millions of people coming in, they're trying to put them on Social Security. He will wipe out Social Security. He will wipe
Everybody,
out
please
Medicare.
make sure to hit that
So
like
he was
for me.
right in the way he finished that sentence, and it's a shame. What's happened to our country in the last 4 years,
Dude,
is not to be
something,
believed.
something, bro.
Foreign
Look,
countries,
he's falling
I'm
asleep.
friends with a lot of people.
He's falling
They
asleep.
cannot believe what happened to the United States of America.
Yes.
We're no longer respected.
Sorry, I'll
They-
shut up,
They
guys.
don't like us. We give them everything they want, and they think we're stupid.
Yes, sir.
They think we're very stupid
Appreciate
people.
you.
What we're doing for other countries, and they do nothing for us. What this man has done is absolutely criminal.
Thank you, President Trump. Dana?
Let's get it.
This is the first presidential election
Murdering
since the
him right
Supreme
now.
Court overturned Roe v. Wade. This morning, the court ruled on yet another abortion case, temporarily
For sure the
allowing
best one.
emergency
I love
abortions
'em.
to continue in Idaho, despite that state's restrictive ban.
Dude,
Former
it's
President
getting
Trump,
bad,
You
Jose.
take credit for the decision to
I'll send you some
overturn Roe
videos.
v. Wade, which returned the issue of abortion to the
Yes,
states.
nothing wrong with
However,
that.
the federal government still plays a role in whether or not women have access to abortion pills. They're used in about 2/3 of all abortions. As president, would you block abortion medication?
First of all, the Supreme Court just approved the abortion pill. And I
Yo, we got
agree
10
with their
people.
decision
We
to
need
have
7
done
more
that,
likes.
and I will
Can we
not
get
block
7
it.
more likes, please?
And if you look at this whole question that you're asking, complex but not really complex. 51 years ago, you had Roe v. Wade, and everybody wanted to get it back to the states. Everybody, without exception. Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservatives. Everybody wanted it back. Religious leaders.
Nothing wrong
And
with
what I
that.
did is I put 3 great Supreme Court justices on
Yes.
the court, and they happened
Yes.
to vote in favor of killing
appreciate
Roe
you,
v.
brother.
Wade and moving it back to the states. This is something
Yes.
that everybody wanted. Now, 10 years ago or so, they started talking about how many weeks and how many this, getting into other things. But every legal scholar throughout the world, the most respected, wanted it brought back to the states. I did that. Now the states are working it out. If you look at Ohio, it was a decision.
What's
that
up,
was,
Chet?
it was an end result that was a little bit more liberal than you would have thought. Kansas, I would say the same thing. Texas is different. Florida is different. But they're all making their own decisions right now. And right now, the states
Yes,
control it.
you're
That's
welcome, Monica.
the vote of the people. Like Ronald Reagan, I believe in the exceptions. I am a person that believes. And frankly, I think it's important to believe in the exceptions. Some people, you have to follow your heart. Some people don't believe in that. But I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and the life of the mother. I think it's very important. Some people don't. Follow your heart. But you have to get elected also. And because that has to do with other things. You got to get elected. The problem they have is they're radical because they will take the life of a child in the 8th month, the 9th month, and even after birth. After birth, if you look at the former governor
We
of
could
Virginia,
fact check that.
he was willing to do this. He said, we'll put the baby aside and we'll determine what we do with the baby, meaning we'll kill the baby. What happened is we brought it back to the states, and the country is now coming together on this issue. It's been a great thing.
Thank you. President Biden?
It's been a terrible thing, what you've done. The fact is that the vast majority of constitutional scholars supported Roe when it was decided. Supported Roe. And this idea that they're all against it is just ridiculous. And this is the guy who says the state should be able to have it. We're in a state where in 6 weeks, you don't even know whether you're pregnant or not, but you cannot see a doctor, and have him decide on what your circumstances are, whether you need help. The idea that states are able to do this is a little like saying we're going to turn civil rights back to the states. Let each state have a different rule. Look, there's so many young women who have been, including a young woman who just was murdered, and he went to the funeral.
Yeah,
and
without a
the
doubt.
idea that she was murdered by an immigrant coming in. They talk about that, but here's the deal: there's a lot of young women are being raped by their in-laws, by their spouses, brothers and sisters, it's just ridiculous. And
You're
they
not.
do nothing about it.
Trump
And they try to
literally
arrest
said
them
he
across
does. He's
state
not
lines.
for
Thank
that.
you.
There have been many young women murdered by the same people he allows to come across our border. We have a border that's the most dangerous place anywhere in the world. Considered
Biden
the
just
most
killed
dangerous
himself
place
with it.
anywhere in the world. And he opened it up, and these killers are coming into our country, and they are raping and killing women. And it's a terrible thing. As far as the abortion is concerned, it is now back with the states. The states are voting. In many
Where it should
cases, it's frankly a very liberal decision. In many cases, it's the opposite. But they're voting, and it's bringing it back to the vote of the people, which is what everybody
Without a doubt,
wanted,
Jose.
including
Without
the
a doubt,
founders,
bro.
if they knew about this issue, which frankly they didn't. But they would have.
really
Everybody
go to
wanted it
prison
brought
if
back.
I ever
Ronald
buy it.
Reagan wanted it brought back.
How old
He
are you,
wasn't able to
Jose?
get it. Everybody wanted it brought back, and many presidents had tried to get it back. I was the one to do it. And again, this gives it the vote of the people, and that's where they wanted it. Every legal
You're
scholar
right there,
wanted
bro.
it that way.
Same thing with Richie.
Staying on the topic of abortion, President Biden,
My nephew just turned 19.
I'll let you do that. This is the same topic. 7 states have no legal restrictions on how far into a pregnancy a woman can obtain an abortion. Do you support any legal limits on how late a woman should be able to terminate a pregnancy?
I
Let's get
support
it.
Roe v. Wade, which had 3 trimesters. The first time is between the woman and the doctor. Second time is between the doctor and
Listen, that was the most non-answer I've ever heard.
between the doctor.
I'm not
between
jumping.
the
I don't think I'm
woman and the
jumping on
state.
tonight, Tyler.
The idea that the politicians, that the founders wanted the politicians to be the ones making decisions about women's health is ridiculous. That's the last. No politician should be making that decision. A doctor should be making those decisions. That's how it should be run. That's what you're going to do. And if I'm elected, I'm going to restore Roe v. Wade.
He didn't answer.
He can take the life of
I
the
will.
baby in the
He didn't
ninth
answer.
month
He didn't
and
answer.
even after birth, because some states, Democrat run, take it after birth. Again, the former governor of Virginia, put the baby down, then we decide what to do with it. So he's willing to, as we say, rip the baby out of the womb in the 9th month and kill the baby. Nobody wants that to happen, Democrat or Republican. Nobody wants it to happen.
That is simply not true. The Roe v. Wade does not provide for that. That's
Yeah, it
not
does.
the circumstance. Only if a woman's life is in danger, she's going to die. That's the only circumstance in which that can happen.
He's
But it is
pissed.
not for late-term abortion, period.
He's pissed.
Period.
Under Roe v. Wade, you have late-term abortion. You can do whatever you want, depending on the state. You can do whatever you want.
Why not just
We
leave
don't
it in the
think that's a
state's
good
hand?
thing.
There's
We
nothing
think
wrong
it's
with
a
that.
radical thing. We think the Democrats are the radicals, not the Republicans.
For 51 years, that was the law. 51 years, constitutional scholarship said it was the right way to go. 51 years, and it was taken away because this guy put very conservative members on the Supreme Court.
You're
He's
welcome.
great for taking it away. What's
Yeah.
he going to do? What's he going to do? In fact, if the MAGA
know.
Republicans, he gets elected.
Oh,
the
God, here we go with those
control
words, the
Congress,
MAGA
and they
Republicans.
pass a universal ban on abortion.
I'll be right back.
period, across the board at 6 weeks or 7 or 8 or 10 weeks, something very, very conservative. Is he going to sign that bill? I'll veto it. He'll sign it.
Thank you.
Let's turn now to the issue of immigration and border security. President Biden, a record number of migrants have illegally crossed the southern border on your watch. Overwhelming border states and overburdening cities such as New York and Chicago, and in some cases causing real safety and security concerns. Given that, why should voters trust you to solve this crisis?
Because we worked very hard to get a bipartisan agreement that not only changed all of that, it made sure that we are in a situation where you had no circumstance where they could come across the border with the number of border police there are now. We significantly increased the number of asylum officers. Significantly. By the way, the Border Patrol endorsed my position. In addition to that, we found ourselves in a situation where when he was president, he was separating babies from their mothers, putting them in cages, making sure the families were separated. That's not the right way to go. What I've done since I've changed
you
the
are
law,
about to do it now,
I've changed it in a way that now you're in a situation where there are 40% fewer people coming across the border.
We don't understand what he's saying anyway. Josh, I didn't even fucking realize that. Why doesn't Trump say that right now?
Relative to what we can do with more Border Patrol and more asylum.
Really?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look, we had the safest border in the history of our country. The border, all he had to do was leave it. All he had to do was leave it. He decided to open up our border, open up our country to people that are from prisons, people that are from mental institutions, insane asylum, terrorists. We have the largest number of terrorists coming into our country right now, all terrorists, all over the world, not just in South America, all over the world. They come from the Middle East, everywhere. All over the world, they're pouring in. And this guy just left it open. And he didn't need legislation because I didn't have legislation. I said, close the border. We had the safest border in history. In that final couple of months of my presidency, we had, according to Border Patrol, who is great, and by the way, who endorsed me for president, but I won't say that, but they endorsed me for president. Brandon, just speak to him. But look, we had the safest border in history. Now we have the worst border in history. There's never been anything like it. And people are dying all over the place, including the people that are coming up in caravans.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden?
The only terrorist who's done anything crossing the border is one who came along and killed and his administration, killed an Al-Qaeda person in his administration.
What the hell is he talking about?
Killed 3 American soldiers. That's the only terrorist that's there. I'm not saying that no terrorist ever got through, but the idea they're emptying their prisons, we're welcoming these people, that's simply not true. There's no data to support what he said. Once again, he's exaggerating, he's lying.
President Trump, staying on the topic of immigration, you've said that you're going to carry out, quote, the largest domestic deportation operation in American history, unquote. Does that mean that you will deport every undocumented immigrant in America, including those who have jobs, including those whose spouses are citizens, and including those who have lived here for decades? And if so, how will you do it?
Just 1 second. He said we killed 3 people. The people we killed.
Let's go, board. You want to, Jose?
And
I'll be like
the 2 greatest terrorists, biggest terrorists anywhere in the world, and it had a huge impact on everything, not just border, on everything. He's the one that killed people with the bad water, including hundreds of thousands of people dying, and also killing our citizens when they come in. We are living right now in a rat's nest. They're killing our people in New York, in California, in every state in the union, because we don't have borders anymore. Every state
literally
is now a
said, "Come in."
And because of his ridiculous, insane, and very stupid policies, people are coming in and they're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen. We call it migrant crime. I call it Biden migrant crime.
Yeah.
Citizens at a level that we've never seen before. And you're reading it like these 3 incredible young girls over the last few days. One of them, I just spoke to the mother.
He does look like he's going to cry.
He just had the funeral for this girl, 12 years old. This is horrible what's taken place. What's taken place in our country, we're literally an uncivilized country now. He doesn't want it to be. He just doesn't know. He opened the borders. Nobody's ever seen anything like. And we have to get a lot of these people out, and we have to get them out fast because they're going to destroy our country. Just take a look at where they're living. They're living in luxury hotels in New York City and other places. Our veterans are on the street. They're dying because he doesn't care about our veterans. He doesn't care. He doesn't like the military at all. And he doesn't care about our veterans. Nobody been worse. I had the highest approval rating for veterans taking care of the VA. He has the worst. He's gotten rid of all the things that I approved, choice that I got through Congress, all of the different things I approved, they abandoned. We had by far the highest, and now it's down in less than half because he's done all these great things.
Oh, shit, I posted that, Josh.
I think he
got
did
148
just because
views.
I approved it, which is crazy. But he has killed so many people at our border by allowing all of these people to come in. And it's a very sad day in America.
President Biden, you have the mic.
Every single thing he said is a lie. Every single one. For example, veterans are a hell of a lot better off since I passed the PACT Act. 1 million of them now have insurance, and their families have it. Their families have it because what happened, whether it was Agent Orange or burn pits, they're all being covered now. And he opposed, his group opposed that. We're also in a situation where we have great respect for veterans. My son spent a year in Iraq, living right next to one of those burn pits, came back with stage 4 glioblastoma. I was recently in France for D-Day, and I spoke all about those heroes that died.
What the
I went
fuck
to the
is-
World War II cemetery, World War I cemetery he refused to go to. He was
What is
speaking
he
with his
talking
four-star
about?
general, and he told me, he said, I don't want to go in there because they're a bunch of losers and suckers. My son was not a loser, was not a sucker. You're the sucker. You're the loser.
President Trump?
First of all, that was a made-up quote, suckers and losers. They made it up. It was in a third-rate magazine that's failing, like many of these magazines. He made that up. He put it in commercials. We've notified him. We had 19 people that said I didn't say it. And think of this. Who would say I'm at a cemetery or I'm talking about our veterans? Because nobody's taking better care. I'm so glad this came up, and he brought it up.
Oh my God! Did
There's
you guys
nobody
hear
that's taking better
Biden? He
care
was
of our
so
soldiers than I
pissed.
have.
I was drinking water and
think that
almost
I would
spit it
have
out
some
just
generals and others
now.
say suckers and losers. We have 19 people that said it was never said by me. It was made up by him, just like Russia was made up, just like the 51 intelligence agents are made up, just like the new thing with the 16 economists are talking. It's the same thing. 51 intelligence agents said that the laptop was Russia disinformation. It wasn't. That came from his son, Hunter. It wasn't Russia
You're not lying,
disinformation. He
Monica.
made up the suckers and losers, so he should apologize to me right now.
Four-star general standing to your side who was on your staff who said you said it, period. That's number one. And number two, the idea that I have to apologize to you for anything along the line. We've done more for veterans than any president has in American history. American history. And they now are in their family. The only sacred obligation we have as a country is to care for our veterans when they come home and their families and equip them when they go to war. That's what we're doing. That's what the VA is doing now. They're doing more for veterans than ever before in our history.
All right, thank you so much.
Let's move to the topic of foreign policy. I want to begin with Russia's war against Ukraine, which is now in its third year. Former President Trump, Russian President Vladimir Putin says he'll only end this war if Russia keeps the Ukrainian
This is
territory it
crazy.
has already claimed and Ukraine abandons its bid to join NATO. Are Putin's terms acceptable to you?
First of all, our veterans and our soldiers can't stand this guy. They can't stand him. They think he's the worst commander-in-chief, if that's what you call him, that we've ever had. They can't stand him. So let's get that straight. And they like me more than just about any of them. And that's based on every single bit of information. As far as Russia and Ukraine, if we had a real president, a president that knew, that was respected by Putin, he would have never invaded Ukraine. A lot of people are dead right now, much more than people know. You know, they talk about numbers. You can double those numbers, maybe triple those numbers. He did nothing to stop it. In fact, I think he encouraged Russia from going in. I'll tell you what happened. He was so bad with Afghanistan. It was such a horrible embarrassment, most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, that when Putin watched that and he saw the incompetence, that he should have fired those generals, like
Murdered him.
the one that you mentioned. And so he's got no love lost. But he should have fired those generals. No general got fired for the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, Afghanistan, where we left billions of dollars of equipment behind. We lost 13 beautiful soldiers, and 38 soldiers were obliterated. And by the way, we left people behind, too. We left American citizens behind. When Putin saw that, he said, you know what? I think we're going to go in and maybe take this was his dream.
Vance?
I talked to him
Let's
about
see who
his dream.
vice
The
president
difference
is.
He never would
Vice
have
president,
invaded
vice
Ukraine.
president
Never.
is.
Just like Israel would have never been invaded in a million years by Hamas. You know why? Because Iran was broke with me. I wouldn't let anybody do business with them. They ran out of money. They were broke. They had no money for Hamas. They had no money for anything. No money for terror. That's why you had no terror. at
No,
all
dude, he's
during
chalk,
my
bro.
administration.
He's a
This
rhino.
place, the
He's an
whole world is
establishment
blowing
puppet.
up under him.
The missiles we gave
President
them, and he
Biden?
was stamped on them, and they
Never
entered
heard so
Trump.
much malarkey in my whole life. Look, the fact of the matter is that we're in a situation where, let's take the last point
Yeah,
first.
it's sad, Monica.
Iran
It's sad.
attacked American troops caused brain damage for a number of these troops, and he did nothing about it. Recently, not when he was president, they attacked. He said they're just having headaches. That's all it is. He didn't do a thing when the attack took place. Number one. Number two, we got over 100,000 Americans and others out of Afghanistan during that airlift. Number three, we found ourselves in a situation where, if you take a look at what Trump did in Ukraine, this guy told Trump, do whatever you want, and do whatever you want. And that's exactly what Trump did to Putin, encourage him, do whatever you want. And he went in. And listen to what he said when he went in. He was going to take Kyiv in 5 days, remember? Because it's part of the old Soviet Union. That's what he wanted to reestablish. Kyiv. And he, in fact, didn't do it at all. He wasn't able to get it done. And they've lost thousands and thousands of troops, 500,000 troops.
President Trump,
I never said
to
that.
For 1 minute, I just want to go back to my original question,
No,
which is,
come on.
are Putin's terms acceptable to you? Keeping the territory in Ukraine?
No, they're not acceptable. But look, this is a war that never should have started. If we had a leader in this war, he led everybody along. He's given $200 billion now or more to Ukraine. He's given $200 billion. That's a lot of money. I don't think there's ever been anything.
Where do they get that from? Who knows?
Zelensky comes to this country. He walks away with $60 billion. He's the greatest salesman ever. And I'm not knocking him. I'm not knocking anything. I'm only saying the money that we're spending on this war, and we shouldn't be spending, it should have never happened. I will have that war settled between Putin and Zelensky as president-elect before I take office on January 20th. I'll have that war settled. People being killed so needlessly, so stupidly, and I will get it settled, and I'll get it settled fast before I take office.
President Biden, you have a minute.
The fact is that Putin is a war criminal. He's killed thousands and thousands of people. And he has made one thing clear. He wants to reestablish what was part of the Soviet Empire, not just a piece. He wants all of Ukraine. That's what he wants. And then you think he'll stop there? Do you think he'll stop when if he takes Ukraine? What do you think happens to Poland? What do you think of Belarus? What do you think happens to those NATO countries? And so if you want a war, you ought to find out what he's going to do, because if in fact he does what he says and walks away, and by the way, all that money we give Ukraine, weapons we make here in the United States, we give them the weapons, not the money at this point. And our NATO allies have produced as much funding for Ukraine as we have. That's why we're strong.
Thank you. Moving on to the Middle East. In October, Hamas attacked Israel, killing more than 1,000 people and taking hundreds of hostages. Among those held and thought to still be alive are 5 Americans. Israel's response has killed thousands of Palestinians and created a humanitarian crisis in Gaza. President Biden, you've put forward a proposal to resolve this conflict, but so far Hamas has not released the remaining hostages, and Israel is continuing its military offensive in Gaza.
I don't know,
so
Mike.
I
don't know, bro.
Will you use
He's got to be having
to
talk to in his ear.
Israel to end the war. You have 2 minutes.
Number one, everyone from the United Nations Security Council straight through to the G7 to the Israelis and Netanyahu,
we still got another hour.
The plan I put forward. Endorse the plan I put forward, which has 3 stages to it. The first stage is trade the hostages for a ceasefire. Second phase is a ceasefire with additional conditions. The third phase is the end of the war. The only one who wants the war to continue is Hamas. Number one, they're the only ones standing out. We're still pushing hard to get them to accept. In the meantime, what's happened? In Israel, we're finding that the only thing I've denied Israel was 2,000-pound bombs. They don't work very well in populated areas. They kill a lot of innocent people. We're providing Israel with all the weapons they need and when they need them. And by the way, I'm the guy that organized the world against Iran when they had a full-blown intercontinental ballistic missile attack on Israel. No one was hurt. No one Israeli was accidentally killed, and it just stopped. We saved Israel. We are the biggest producer of support for Israel of anyone in the world. And so there are 2 different things. Hamas cannot be allowed to be continued. We continue to send our experts and our intelligence people as to how they can get Hamas like we did bin Laden. You don't have to do it. And by the way, they've been greatly weakened, Hamas, greatly weakened, and they should be. They should be eliminated. But you've got to be careful for what using certain weapons among population centers.
Just going back to Ukraine for 1 second. We have
Dude, such a
separating us. The European nations together
1,000%.
have spent $100 billion or maybe more than that, less than us. Why doesn't he call them and say, you got to put up your money like I did with NATO? I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars. The Secretary General of NATO said Trump did the most incredible job I've ever seen. They wouldn't have any. They were going out of business. We were spending almost 100% of the money was paid by us. He didn't do that.
Yeah.
He's getting all. You got to ask these people to put up the money. We're over $100 billion more spent, and it has a bigger impact on them because of location, because we have an ocean in between. You got to ask them. As far as Israel and Hamas, Israel's the one that wants to go. He said the only one that wants to keep going is Hamas. Actually, Israel is the one, and you should let him go and let him finish the job. He doesn't want to do it. He's become like a Palestinian. But they don't like him because
without
he's
a doubt, bro.
Palestinian. He's a weak one.
President Biden, you have a minute.
I've never heard so much foolishness. This is the guy who wants to get out of NATO. Are you going to stay in NATO? You're going to pull out of NATO. The idea that we have our strength lies in our alliances as well. It may be a big ocean. Were we ever able to avoid a war in Europe, a major war in Europe? What happens if, in fact, you have Putin continue to go into NATO? We have an Article 5 agreement. Attack on one is attack on all. You want to start the nuclear war he keeps talking about, go ahead. Let Putin go in and control Ukraine and then move on to Poland and other places. See what happens then. He has no idea what the hell he's talking about. And by the way, I got 50 other nations around the world to support Ukraine, including Japan and South Korea, because they understand that this kind of dislocation has a serious threat to the whole world peace. No major war in Europe has ever been able to be contained just to Europe.
President Trump, just to follow up, would you support the creation of an independent Palestinian state in order to achieve peace in the region?
I'd have to see. But before we do that, the problem we have is that we spend all the money. So they kill us on trade. I made great trade deals with the European nations because if you add them up, they're about the same size economically. Their economy is about the same size as the United States. And they were no cars, they don't want anything that we have. But we're supposed to take their cars, their food, their everything, their agriculture. I changed that. But the big thing I changed is they don't want to pay. And the only reason that he can play games with NATO is because I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars. I said, and he's right about this, I said, no, I'm not going to support NATO if you don't pay. They asked me that question, would you guard us against Russia? At a very secret meeting of the 28 states at that time, nations at that time. And I said, no, if you don't pay, I won't do that. And you know what happened? Billions and billions of dollars came flowing in the next day and the next months. But now we're in the same position. We're paying everybody's bills.
Oh, he's killing
the
him.
issue of democracy. Former President Trump.
Yeah, I won't even put the closed caption. What's up, Alpha? How you doing, bro? He is very delusional, bro. This is crazy.
Supporters that day. Some of them stormed the Capitol to stop the constitutionally mandated counting of electoral votes. As president, you swore an oath to, quote, preserve, protect, and defend, unquote, the Constitution. What do you say to voters who believe that you violated that oath through your actions and inaction on January 6th and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I don't think too many believe that. And let me tell you about January 6th. On January 6th, we had a great border. Nobody coming through, very few. On January 6th, we were energy independent. On January 6th, we had the lowest taxes ever. We had the lowest regulations ever. On January 6th, we were respected all over the world. All over the world, we were respected. And then he comes in, and we're now laughed at. We're like a bunch of stupid people. What happened to the United States' reputation under this man's leadership is horrible, including weaponization, which I'm sure at some point you'll be talking about, where he goes after his political opponent because he can't beat him fair and square.
You have 80 seconds left. My question was, what do you say to those voters who believe that you violated your constitutional
right?
oath through your actions and inaction on January 6, 2021? And
It's all just a
I
bunch
didn't say
of
that
fucking
to
bullshit,
anybody.
Alpha.
I said peacefully and patriotically. And Nancy Pelosi, if you just watched the news from 2 days ago, on tape to her daughter, who's a documentary filmmaker, they say, but she's saying, oh, no, it's my responsibility. I was responsible for this. Because I offered her 10,000 soldiers or National Guard, and she turned them down. And the mayor in writing, by the way, the mayor in writing turned it down, the mayor of D.C. They turned it down. I offered 10,000 because I could see, I had virtually nothing to do. They asked me to go make a speech. I could see what was happening. Everybody was saying they're going to be there on January 6th. They're going to be there. And I said, you know what? There's a lot of people coming. You could feel it. You could feel it, too, and you could feel it. And I said, they ought to have some National Guard or whatever. And I offered it to her. And she now admits that she turned it down. And it was the same day she was.
Everyone needs to hear that.
Happy with her daughter because it made her into a liar. She said, I take full responsibility for January 6th.
President Biden?
Look, he
No rebuttal, my dude.
On Capitol Hill, number one. I sat in the dining room off the Oval Office. He sat there for 3 hours. 3 hours watching, begging, being begged by his vice president and a number of his colleagues on the Republican side as well to do something, to call for a stop, to end it. Instead, they talked about these people being patriots and great patrons of America. In fact, he says he'll now forgive them for what they've done. They've been convicted. He says he wants to commute their sentences and say that no. He went to every single court in the nation. I don't know how many cases, scores of cases, including the Supreme Court, and they said, no, this guy is responsible for doing.
I just went and got my gummy.
Done. He did do a damn thing, and these people should be in jail, and they should be the ones who are being held accountable. And he wants to let them all out, and now he says
Yes,
that he
I would
loses
pardon
again,
every
such a
single one of
whiner
them.
that he is.
If I was Trump right now, I'd say I'm
Thank you,
going to
President
pardon
Biden.
Hunter
President
Biden for
Trump?
his gun charges.
I would
What
too.
they've done to some people that are so
I'd
innocent.
kill him right there.
You ought to be ashamed of yourself. What you have done, how you've
I said
destroyed
the only
the
reason I
lives of so
pardon you
many
is
people.
because you're a
When
dumbass
they
and allowed your son
ripped
to be a
down Portland,
dumbass.
when they ripped down
I wanted him to be a good guy.
many other cities. You go to Minnesota, Minneapolis, what they've done there with the fires all over the
would
city.
be
If
a
I didn't bring in the
fucking
National Guard,
stunner.
that city would have been destroyed. When you
Tim
look
Pool
at
said that,
all
and I
of
was like,
the
damn, he's right.
they took over big chunks of Seattle. I was all set to bring in the National Guard. They heard that. They saw them coming, and they left immediately. What he said about this whole subject is so off. Peacefully patriotic. One other thing. The Unselect Committee, which is basically two horrible Republicans that are all
It was a good
gone now
conversation with
out of
Caleb.
office, and Democrats, all Democrats,
very
they
productive.
destroyed and deleted all of the information they found because they found out we were right. We were right. And they deleted and destroyed all of the information. They should go to jail for that. If
Yes.
a Republican did that, they'd go to
Thank
jail.
you,
Without a
President
doubt, they
Biden.
should.
wanna
I
give you a
mean,
minute.
what?
The only person on this stage is a convicted felon is the man I'm looking at right now.
And your
The fact of the
son.
matter is, what he's telling you is
Well, he's not on
true.
the stage,
The
but
fact is that there was no effort on his part to stop what was going on up in Capitol Hill. And all those people, every one of those who were convicted, deserves to be convicted. The idea that they didn't kill somebody, just went in and broke down doors, broke the windows, occupied offices, turned over desks, turned them over statues. The idea that those people are patriots? Come on. When I asked
Yeah,
him
they
the
are.
first two debates we had, first time around, I said, will you denounce the Proud Boys?
he's such a.
He said, no, I'll tell them to stand by.
Yeah.
The idea he's refusing to, will you denounce these guys? Will you denounce the people we're
Tell
talking
them to
about
stand
now?
by just in
Will you
case shit
denounce the
pops
people who
off.
Attack that Capitol? What are you going to do?
I'm going to give you a minute, President Trump, for a follow-up question I have. After a jury convicted you of 34 felonies last month, you said if reelected, you would, quote, have every right to go after, unquote, your political opponents. You just talked about members of the Select
He won't
Committee
do
on
that
January
because
6th going
he
to
doesn't
jail.
want to turn the
Your main
country
political
upside down,
opponent is standing
like
on
the
stage
Democrats
with
have
you
done to
tonight.
us.
Can you clarify exactly what it means about you feeling you have every right to go after your political opponents?
Well, I said my retribution is going to be success. We're going to make this country successful again, because right now it's a failing nation. My retribution is going to be success. But when he talks about a convicted felon, his son is a convicted felon at a very high level. His son is convicted, going to be convicted probably numerous other times. Should have been convicted before, but his Justice Department let the statute of limitations lapse on the most important things. But he could be a convicted felon as soon as he gets out of office. Joe could be a convicted felon for all of the things that he's done. He's done horrible things. All of the death caused at the border, telling the Ukrainian people that we're going to want $1 billion or you change the prosecutor. Otherwise, you're not getting $1 billion. If I ever said that, that's quid pro quo. We're not going to do anything. We're not going to give you $1 billion unless you change your prosecutor, having to do with the son. This man is a criminal. This man, you're lucky. You're lucky. I did nothing wrong. We'd have a system that was rigged and disgusting. I did nothing wrong.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, you have said...
Yeah.
Well, you want
He
to
doesn't
respond?
know
I'll
what
give
to
you a minute
think.
respond.
The idea that I did anything wrong relative to what you're talking about is outrageous. It's simply
outrageous.
a lie, number one. Number
He's
two,
pointing fingers.
the idea that you have a right to seek retribution against any American just because you're president is wrong. It's simply
Look what
wrong.
you're
No
doing.
president's ever spoken like that before. No president in our history has spoken like that before. Number three, the crimes that you are still charged with, and think of all the civil penalties you have. How many billions of dollars do you owe in civil penalties for molesting a woman in public, for doing a whole range of things, of having sex with a porn star on the night while your wife was pregnant? I mean, what are you talking about? You're the morals of an alley cat.
I didn't have sex with a porn star, number one. Number two, that was a case that was started and moved. They moved a high-ranking official, a DOJ, into the Manhattan DA's office to start that case. That case is going to be appealed and won. We had a very terrible judge, a horrible judge, Democrat. The prosecutor were all high-ranking Democrats, appointed people, and both the civil and the criminal. He basically went after his political opponent because he thought it was going to damage me. But when the public found out about these cases, because they understand it better than he does, he has no idea what these cases are.
It's crazy.
But when they found out about these cases, you know what they did? My poll numbers went up, way up. You know that because you're reporting it. And we took in more money in the last 2 weeks than we've ever taken in the history of any campaign. I don't think any campaign has ever taken. Hundreds of millions of dollars came pouring in because the public knows it's a scam and it's a guy that's after his political opponent because he can't win fair and square.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, you have said, quote, Donald Trump and his MAGA Republicans are determined to destroy American democracy. Do you believe that the tens of millions of Americans who are likely to vote for President Trump will be voting against American democracy?
The more they know about what he's done, yes. The more they know about what he's done. And there's a lot more coming. He's got a lot of cases down the road coming around. He's got a whole range of issues he has to face. I don't know what the juries will do, but I do know he has a real problem. And so the fact that, could you ever think you hear any president say that I'm going to seek retribution? Do you ever hear any president say that I thought Hitler had some good ideas? What got me involved to run in the first place after my son had died, I decided in Iraq, because of Iraq, I said I wasn't going to run again until I saw what happened in Charlottesville, Virginia. People coming out of the woods carrying
Oh my
swastikas,
God, bro, that was
torches,
fucking 10 years
and
ago.
taking the same anti-Semitic bile.
Shut the fuck up
and
about this
saying,
shit already.
Back in Germany.
Dude always tries to
And
play
and
into people's emotions like a little weirdo.
And they asked him, they said, what do you think of those people? The people the ones who got killed, the one who tried to stop it, and the ones he said, I think they're fine people on both sides.
Yeah.
What?
And then when you heard the
president
context,
would
you
ever
understand
say
what he said.
Nazis coming out of
This is
fields,
shit from the
carrying
last
torches,
debate.
singing the same anti-Semitic bile, carrying swastikas. We're fine people. And this is a guy who says Hitler's done
Bro,
some good
this
things.
was from
Like
the
you know
last
what they are.
debate.
The good things Hitler's done, that's what he said.
Look how
This guy
wide
has
he
no
opened his
sense of
eyes.
American democracy.
Something just popped,
Jake,
kicked in.
both of you know that story has been totally wiped out because when you see the sentence, it said 100% exoneration on that. So he just keeps it going. He says he ran because of Charlottesville. He didn't run because of Charlottesville. He ran because it was his last chance. He's not equipped to be president.
Biden
You know
looks
it,
so
and I know it.
lost.
It's
He
ridiculous.
is
We have a
lost.
debate. We're trying to justify his presidency. His presidency, he's without question the worst president, the worst presidency in the history of our country. We shouldn't be having a debate about it. There's nothing to debate. He made up the Charlottesville
He doesn't know
story,
what's going
and
on,
you'll see
Monica.
it's debunked all over the place. Every reasonable anchor has debunked it. And just the other day, it came out where it was fully debunked. It's a nonsense story. He knows that, and he didn't run because of Charlottesville. He used that as an excuse to run.
President Biden?
And debunked. It happened. All you have to do is listen to what was said at the time. And the idea that somehow that's the only reason I ran because I was worried a guy like this guy could get elected. If he thought they were good people coming out of that forest, carrying those woods, carrying those torches, then he didn't deserve to be president. Didn't deserve to be president at all. And the idea that he's
What
talking
the
about
fuck?
all this being fabricated, we saw with our own eyes. We saw what happened on January 6th. We saw the
It's
people
sad.
breaking through the
It
windows.
was great when
We
they
saw
talked
people
about
occupying their-
Afghanistan,
His own
Tommy.
vice president. Look,
Yeah.
there's a reason
He
why
drilled that
40 of his 44 top cabinet officers
That was a good
refused to
drill.
endorse him this time. His vice
Biden
president
needs,
hasn't
for
endorsed
real,
him
he
this
needs to
time.
just go hang it
So
up.
why?
They should have just let
Why?
Gavin
They know him
Newsom do
well.
it.
They serve with him.
Well,
Why are they not
Joe
endorsing him?
Biden should have.
Thank you, President Biden.
She's
We're
a
going to be
terrible
right
wife.
back with more from the CNN presidential debate.
I don't know. We'll be in it for a second.
Is it break time?
Yeah, so what do you guys think so far, chat? This is funny. This is very funny. I don't know why the Democrats would allow Joe Biden to even do this, which I understand why, because you have to. You can't just not do it. Mo Holt needs to go away. They all need to go away. Jake Tapper's a fucking douchebag. Is that my dog crying?
No.
Oh. She's sleeping, huh? Yeah. Dreaming. Yeah, it's Democrats are not going to win this election. But that's the thing. I didn't think they would have won last time. I was literally up watching watching everything, bro, and Trump was killing him at like 2:30 in the morning, and I fell asleep and woke back up, and he was getting crushed. So I was like, oh shit. Yeah, I think it was that Jubilee. Yeah, I think it's Jubilee. She's in there dreaming. So she's like, I don't know. I don't know why. I don't understand why they would let him out here. It does not make sense to me. I know, right? Why does it freaking do that?
We have a break time, Tommy?
Yeah, it's a little break time. What? Hold on. Shit, sorry guys. Fuck.
first home so they can get started. I made sure that we're in a situation
We want it. There we go.
And you'd certainly face again in a second term. President Biden, while black unemployment dropped to a record low under your presidency, black families still earn far less than white families.
Whoa,
Black
get
are
'em.
3 times more likely to die from pregnancy-related causes, and black Americans are imprisoned at 5 times the rate of white Americans. What do you say to black voters who are disappointed that you haven't made more progress?
They acknowledge they made a lot of progress, number one. The fact of the matter is there's more small black businesses that have been started than any time in history. Number two, the wages of black unemployment is the lowest level it's been in a long, long time.
Jose.
Number three,
Hold on.
we're trying to providing housing for black Americans and dealing with the segregation that exists among these corporations that collude to keep people out of their houses. And in addition to that, we find that the impact on the choice that black families have to make relative to child care is incredibly difficult. When we did the first major piece of legislation that passed, I was able to reduce black child care costs. I cut them in half. We got to make sure we provide for child care costs. We got to make sure, because when you provide those child care protections, you increase economic growth because more people can be in the job market. So there's more to be done, considerably more to be done. But we've done a great deal so far, and I'm not letting up, and they know it.
You have 49 seconds left. What do you say to black voters who are disappointed with the progress so far?
I say I don't blame them for being disappointed. Inflation is still hurting them badly. For example, I provided for
That's not what he's talking about. That's not what she's talking about, bud. She's talking about the people in jail. Answer the question. You're not answering. No, you're not answering.
They had to take out student loans that were ballooning, that if they were engaged in nursing, doctor, and anything having to do with volunteerism.
He doesn't know what he's saying. He's done.
Bills for 10 years.
He's done.
Their student debt, all the rest is forgiven after 10 years. Millions have benefited from that. And we're going to do a whole lot more for black families.
Thank
All right,
you,
Jose,
President Trump.
Lola is
And he caused the
14.
inflation.
Lola is 14, and
He's
Jubilee will be
obviously
10 this
very
year.
bad. He caused the inflation,
Hello?
and it's killing black families and Hispanic families and just about
Yeah, I'm
everybody.
live streaming it right
It's
now. He's an
killing
idiot.
people. They can't buy groceries anymore. They can't. You look at the cost of food where it's doubled and tripled and quadrupled. They can't live. They're not living anymore.
He's an idiot.
He
I'll call you
caused
back
this
when I'm done live
inflation.
streaming
I
this.
gave him a country
Love you,
with
man.
essentially no inflation. It was perfect. It was.
Dude,
so
my
good.
cousin
All you
just
had to do
called
was
me
leave it
fucking
alone.
going crazy.
He destroyed it with his Green New Scam and all of the other,
Yes.
all this money that's being thrown out the window. He caused inflation. As sure as you're sitting there, the fact is that his big kill on the black people is the millions of people that he's allowed to come in through the border. They're taking black jobs now, and it could be 18, it could be 19, and even 20 million people. They're taking black jobs, and they're taking Hispanic jobs, and you haven't seen it yet, but you're going to see something that's going to be the worst in our history.
Thank you. President Biden?
There was no inflation when I became president. You know why? The economy was flat on its back. 15% unemployment. He decimated the economy. Absolutely decimated the economy.
No, that was
That's why there was no inflation
COVID.
at the time.
This dude's a
There were no
moron,
jobs.
bro.
We provided thousands of millions of jobs for individuals who are in all communities, including minority communities.
He doesn't
we made
believe
sure
that.
they have health insurance. We have.
He doesn't believe that.
if the
There's no way he
ACA
believes
has
this.
increased- I made sure that there are
There's no way he
$8,000
believes
per
this,
person
Michael.
in a family to get written off for the health care. But this guy wants
There's
to
no way.
eliminate that. They
No
tried
fucking
50
way.
times. He
There's
wants
no
to get rid of
fucking
the
way this
ACA
dude
again.
believes this.
And they're going to try again if they win.
Trump's shaking his head
Congress
because
is
we
in a
don't believe
position
it.
Where the idea that we're not doing any, we put more police on the street than any administration has. He wants to cut the cops. We're providing for equity and making sure people have a shot to make it. There's a lot going on, but in inflation, he caused it by his tremendous malfeasance in the way he handled the pandemic.
Thank you. Another persistent challenge is the climate crisis. 2023 was the hottest
There's
year in
none.
recorded history, and
This is
communities
ridiculous.
across
People still
the
fucking
country
say
are
this.
confronting the devastating effects of extreme heat, intensifying wildfires,
What are they
stronger
talking about?
hurricanes, and rising sea levels. Former President Trump, you've vowed to end your opponent's climate initiatives, but
Yes.
will you take any action as president to slow the climate crisis?
Well, let
No,
me
we'll
just
just
go
pay
back
attention
to
to
what
it.
he said about the police, how close the police are to him. Almost every
He's such a
police group
moron,
in the
Michael.
nation, from
Michael, he's
every
dumb, bro.
state,
He's dumb.
is supporting Donald J. Trump. Almost
Yes.
every police group. And what he's done to the black population is horrible, including the fact that for 10 years he called them super predators. We can't, in the 1990s, we can't forget that. Super predators was his name, and he called it to them for 10, and
Yes.
they've taken great offense at it, and now they see
Yes.
it happening. But when they see what I did for criminal justice reform and for the historically black colleges and universities, where I funded them and got them all
He's
funded,
pissed.
and
Pissed.
the opportunity zones.
Fucking steam.
As you know, Tim Scott was incredible. He did a great job. Great senator from South Carolina. He came to me with the idea, and it was a great idea. It's one of the most successful economic development acts ever in the country, opportunity zones. And the biggest beneficiary are blacks. And that's why we have the best numbers with them in maybe ever. They're saying ever. I read this morning where ever, the best numbers. He's lost
The blacks.
much of the black population because he's done a horrible job for black people. He's also done a horrible job for Hispanics. But wait till you see these millions of people pouring into our country, and they're going to take the jobs. And it's already started, and you haven't seen anything yet. It's a disaster.
You 38 seconds left.
Spot on,
President
Trump.
Trump, will you take any action as president to slow the climate crisis?
So I want absolutely immaculate clean water, and I want absolutely clean air, and we had it. We had H2O. We had the best numbers ever, and we were using
H2O
all forms
numbers,
of
baby.
energy, all forms, everything. And yet, during my 4 years, I had the best environmental numbers ever. And my top environmental people gave me that statistic just before I walked on the stage, actually.
I don't know where the hell he's been. The idea that anything he said is true. I've passed the most extensive,
I'm buying inflation reduction
climate
in front of
change
my eyes.
legislation in history.
Yeah, everybody, please make sure to hit that like.
Black colleges. I came up with $15 billion for HBCUs, historic black universities.
No, he literally just said he did it so they don't
they
have
don't
to
have
ask
the
for
kind
money.
of contributors that they have to build these laboratories and the like.
He's
No
lying.
black student is capable in college of
He's
doing what a
lying.
student can do.
Lying,
He
Chad.
doesn't have the money, but now
Chad, he's a
they look
liar.
at those jobs in high tech. We're in a situation where the idea that he is claiming to have done something that had the cleanest water. He hadn't done a damn thing with the environment. He pulled out of the Paris Peace Accord, Climate Accord. I immediately joined it because if we reach 1.5 degrees Celsius at any one point, where there's no way back. The only existential threat to humanity is climate change, and he didn't do a damn thing about it. He wants to undo all that I've done.
Yeah, we
Paris
must
Accord
undo
was gonna cost
all
us
that
$1
you've
trillion,
done.
and China nothing, and Russia nothing, and India nothing. It was a
Nothing.
ripoff of the United States. And I ended it because I didn't want to waste that money because they treat us horribly. We were the only ones who was costing us money. Nobody else was paying into it. And it was a disaster. But everything that he said just now, I'll give you an example. I heard him say before insulin. I'm the one that got the insulin down for the seniors. I took
Yeah.
care of the seniors.
We
What
know
he's
this.
doing is destroying all of our medical programs because the migrants coming in, they want everybody. And look, I have the biggest heart on the stage. I guarantee you that. And I want to take care of people. But we're destroying our country. They're taking over our schools, our hospitals, and they're going to be taking over Social Security. He is destroying Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid.
The idea is that we, in fact, we were the only ones of consequence who were not members of the Paris Accord. How can we do anything if we're not able to? The United States can't get its pollution under control.
Going-
One of
I
the
think
largest
so,
polluters
Tim.
in the world.
I really think
We're
so,
making
bro.
Significant progress. By 2035, we will have cut pollution in half. We have made significant progress, and we're continuing to make progress.
Said that twice.
We set up a climate corps for thousands of young people who learn how to deal with climate, just like the Peace Corps, and we're moving in directions that are going to significantly change the elements of cause of pollution. But the idea that he claims that he has the biggest heart up here and he's really concerned about pollution and about climate, I've not seen any indication of that. And by the way, with regard to prescription drugs, one company agreed that they would reduce the price to $35, which I was calling for, one, voluntarily. I made sure every company in the world, every pharmaceutical company, cannot have to pay.
Thank you.
And by the way,
So every day, millions of Americans struggle just to make ends meet. For many older Americans, Social Security provides a critical lifeline. President Biden, if nothing is done to Social Security, seniors will see their benefits cut in just over 10 years. Will you name tonight one specific step that you're willing to take to keep Social Security solvent?
yes, make the very wealthy begin to pay their fair share. Right now, everybody making under $170,000 pays 6% of their income, of their paycheck, every single time they get a paycheck from the time the first one they get when they're 18 years old. The idea that they're going to, I'm proposing that everybody, the millionaires pay 1%. 1%. So no one I would not raise the cost of Social Security for anybody under $400,000. After that, I began to make the wealthy begin to pay their fair share by increasing from 1% beyond to be able to guarantee the program for life.
So you still have 82 seconds left. Are there any other measures that you think that would be able to help keep Social Security solvent, or is that one enough?
Well, no, that one enough will keep it solvent. But the biggest thing I'll do if we defeat this man,
people are idiots,
because he wants to get rid of Social Security. He thinks there's plenty to cut in Social Security. He's wanting to cut
he
Social
wants to get rid
Security
of
and
income
Medicare
tax
both times. And and if you look at the program put forward by the House Republican caucus that I believe supports, is in fact want to cut it as well. The idea that we don't need to protect our seniors is ridiculous. And by the way, the American public has greater health care coverage today than ever before. And on the ACA, as I said, you're in a circumstance where 400,000 people, 40 million people would not have insurance because they have a pre-existing condition. The only thing that allows them to have that insurance is the fact that they, in fact, are part of the ACA. And by the way, the other thing is, we're in a situation where we talk about education for black communities. I've raised the amount of money for Pell Grants by another $8,000. So anybody making under $70,000 a year is going to be able to get $15,000 toward their tuition. He just doesn't know what he's talking
government
about.
fucking
Thank you,
spending,
President Biden. President Trump.
So I've dealt with politicians all my life. I've been on this side of the equation for the last 8 years. I've never seen anybody lie like this guy. He lies. I've never seen it. He can look you in the face. About so many other things, too. And we mentioned the laptop. We mentioned Russia, Ukraine. Everything he does is a lie. It's misinformation and disinformation. The losers and suckers story that he made up is a total lie on the military. It's a disgrace. But Social Security, he's destroying it because millions of people are pouring into our country, and they're putting them onto Social Security. They're putting them onto Medicare, Medicaid. They're putting them in our hospitals. They're taking the place of our citizens. What they're doing to the VA, to our veterans, is unbelievable. Our veterans are living in the street, and these people are living in luxury hotels. He doesn't know what he's doing, and it's really coming back. I've never seen such anger in our country before.
President Biden?
The idea that veterans are not being taken care of, I told you before. And by the way, when I said suckers and losers, he said, acknowledged after that he fired that general. That general got fired because he's the one that acknowledged that that's what he said. He was the one standing with Trump when he said it. Number one. Number two, the idea that we're going to be in a situation where all these millions and millions, the way he talks about it, illegal aliens are coming into the country and taking away our jobs. There's a reason why we have the fastest growing economy in the world, the reason why we have the most successful economy in the world. We're doing better than any other nation in the world. And by the way, those 15 Nobel laureates he talked about being phony, those 15 Nobel laureates, economists, they all said that if Trump is reelected, we're likely to have a recession and inflation is going to increasingly go up. And by the way, worst president in history, 159 presidential scholars voted him the worst president in the history of the United States of America.
Who cares? A
President
bunch
Biden,
of
thank you so much.
intellectual
Let's turn to the
dummies.
cost of child care, which many American families struggle to afford. President Trump, both you and President Biden have
What a
tried to
moron.
address this issue, but the average cost of child care in this country has risen to more than $11,000 a year per child. For many families, the cost of child care for 2 children is more than their rent. In your second term, what would you do to make child care more affordable?
Just to go back, the general got fired because he was no good. And if he said that, that's why he made it up. But we have 19 people that said I
There we
didn't
go.
say it, and they're
There
very
we go.
highly respected, much more so than him. The other thing is, he doesn't fire people. He never fired people. I've never seen him fire anybody. I did fire a lot. I fired Comey because he was no good. I fired a lot of the top people at the FBI, drained the swamp. They were no good.
Drain
Not
the
easy
swamp.
to fire people. You'd pay a price for it, but they were no good. I inherited these people. I didn't put them there. I didn't put Comey there. He was no good. I fired him. This guy hasn't fired anybody. He never fires. He should have fired
Yep.
every military man that was involved
We're
with that
done
Afghan-
for if he's reelected.
Afghanistan horror show.
Without
The
a
most
doubt,
embarrassing
Monica.
moment
We're
in the
done.
history of our country. He didn't fire. Did you fire anybody? Did you fire anybody that's on the border that's allowed us to have the worst border in the history of the world? Did anybody get fired for allowing 18 million people, many from prisons?
Anyone?
Many
Nope.
from mental institutions? Did you fire anybody that allowed our country to be destroyed? Joe, our country is being destroyed as you and I sit up here and waste a lot of time on this debate. This shouldn't be a debate. He is the worst president. He just said about me because I said it. But look, he's the worst president in the history of our country. He's destroyed our country. Now all of a sudden he's trying to get a little tough on the border. He came out with a nothing deal, and it reduced it a little bit, like this much. It's insignificant.
Isn't
He
so
wants
bad
open
for
borders.
Biden.
He wants our country to either be destroyed or he wants to pick up those people as voters. And I don't think we just can't let it happen. If he wins this election, our country doesn't have a chance, not even a chance, of coming out of this rut. We probably won't have a country left anymore. That's how bad it is. He is the worst in history by far.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden?
We are the most admired country in the world. We're the United States of America. There's nothing beyond our capacity. We have the finest military in the history of the world, the finest in the history of the world. No one thinks we're weak. No one wants to screw around with us. Nobody, number one. Number two, the idea that we're talking about worst presidents. I wasn't joking. Look it up or go online. 159 or 58, don't hold me to the exact
Educated
number.
dummies.
Presidential historians, they've had meetings and they voted who's the worst president in American history, one through best to worst. They said he was the worst in all of American history. That's a fact. That's not conjecture. He can argue they're wrong, but that's what they voted. The idea that he is not
It's so bad,
doing
dude.
anything to deal
It's
with
so bad.
child care. He did for virtually nothing in child care. We should significantly increase the child care tax credit. We should significantly increase the availability of women and men or single parents to be able to go back to work. And we should encourage businesses to have.
Thank you, President
child care
Biden.
facilities.
President Trump, the question was about what would you do
I
to
do
make
too,
child
bro.
care more
I
affordable.
think
If you
he
want to
has
take a minute.
dementia.
Just so you understand, we have polling, we have other things that do.
I'm being dead
that are
honest.
worse
I think he has
because what
dementia,
he's done
Tim.
is so bad. And they rate me, I'll show you, I will show you. And they rate me one of the best, okay? And if I'm given another 4 years, I will be the best. I think I'll be the best. Nobody's ever created an economy like us. Nobody ever cut taxes like us.
Facts.
He's the only one I know. He wants to raise your taxes by 4 times. He wants to raise everybody's taxes by 4 times. He wants the Trump tax cuts to expire. So everybody, including the two of you, are going to pay 4 to 5 times. Nobody ever heard of this before. All my life, I'd grow up and I'd see politicians talking about cutting taxes. When we cut taxes, as I said, we did more business. Apple and all these companies, they were bringing money back into our country. The worst president in history by far, and everybody knows it.
President Biden?
Eventually,
Look, the
but
fact
he
of the
still
matter
can
is that
sneak
he's
in
dead
tax
wrong
increase and
about
call
he's
credit typical
increased the
Democrat.
he's
I call them
increased-
demon
he will
rats.
increase the taxes on middle class people. I said I'd never raise a tax on anybody making less than $400,000. I didn't. But this tariff is 10% tariffs. Everything coming in the country, you know what the economists say? That's going to cost the average American $2,500 a year more because they're going to have to pay the difference in food and all the things that are very important. Number two, he's in a situation where he talks about how he has not raised.
Not true. We were paying less than we are right now.
Middle class have been devastated by you. Now you want a new tax cut of $5 trillion over the next 10 years, which is going to fundamentally bankrupt the country. You had the
No, it's
largest
going to
deficit
bankrupt
of
the
any country in
government.
American history. Number
We'll
one.
be good.
Number two,
Government,
you have
no
not,
more
in
government.
fact, made any contact, any progress with China. We are at the lowest trade deficit with China since 2010.
Thank you,
We were at the
President
highest.
Biden.
You lost
Thank you, President Biden. Let's discuss an epidemic impacting millions of Americans that both of you have made a top priority in your first term, the opioid crisis. And for both of you, the number of overdose deaths in this country has gone up. Under your term, it went up. Under your term, it has gone up. Former President Trump, despite the efforts that both of you have made, more than 100,000 Americans are dying from overdoses every year, primarily from fentanyl and other opioids. What will you do to help Americans right now in the throes of
Down the
addiction
border,
who are struggling to get the treatment they need?
To finish up, we now have the largest deficit in the history of our country under this guy. We have the largest deficit with China. He gets paid by China. He's a Manchurian candidate. He gets money from China. So I think he's afraid to deal with them or something. But do you notice he never took out my tariffs because we bring in so much money with the tariffs?
I love how
that I'm
Trump
opposed
did
to in
that.
China.
He
never
snuck
took it
this
away.
one
He
in.
can't because it's too much.
Because you ain't
money.
going to just answer
It's
that.
tremendous. And we saved our steel industries, and there was more to come. But he hasn't done that. But he hasn't cut the tariffs because he can't, because it's too much money. But he's got the largest deficit in the history of our country, and he's got the worst situation with China. China's going to own us if you keep allowing them to do what they're doing to us as a country. They are killing us as a country, Joe, and you can't let that happen. You're destroying our country.
So, President Trump, you have 67 seconds left. The question was, what are you going to do to help Americans in the throes of addiction right now who are struggling to get the treatment they need?
Jake, we were doing very well at addiction until the COVID came along. We had the 2.5, almost 3 years of like nobody's ever had before, any country, in every way. And then we had to get tough. And it was the drugs pouring across the border it started to increase. We got great equipment. We bought the certain dog that's the most incredible thing that you've ever seen, the way they can spot it. We did a lot, and we were getting very low numbers, very, very low numbers. Then he came along. The numbers, have you seen the numbers now? It's not only the 18 million people that I believe is even low because the gotaways, they don't even talk about gotaways. But the numbers of the amount of drugs and human trafficking in women coming across our border, the worst thing I've ever seen, at numbers that nobody's ever seen under him because the border's so bad. But the number of drugs coming across our border now is the largest we've ever had by far.
President Trump, thank you. President Biden?
Fentanyl and the byproducts of fentanyl went down for a while. And I wanted to make sure we use the machinery that can detect fentanyl, these big machines that roll over everything that comes across the border. And it costs a lot of money. That was part of this deal we put together, this bipartisan deal. More fentanyl machines, more be able to detect drugs, more numbers of agents, more numbers of all the people at the border. And when we had that deal done, he called his Republican colleagues, said, "Don't do it. It's going to hurt me politically." No, he never argued it's not a good bill. It's a really good bill. We need those machines. We need those machines. And we're coming down very hard in every country in Asia in terms of precursors for fentanyl. And Mexico is working with us to make sure they don't have the technology to be able to put it together. That's what we have to do. We need those machines.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, and again, the question is about
He's
Americans in the
pissed,
throes
bro.
of addiction right now struggling to get the treatment they need.
Well, this does pertain to it. He ended Remain in Mexico. He ended catch and release. I made it catch and release in Mexico, not catch and release here. We had so many things that we had done, hard negotiations with Mexico, and I got it all for nothing. It's just like when you have a hostage. We always pay $6 billion for a hostage. Every time we say a hostage. Now we have a hostage, a Wall Street Journal reporter. I think a good guy. And he's over there because Putin is laughing at this guy, probably asking for billions of dollars for the reporter. I will have him out very quickly as soon as I take office. Before I take office, I said by literally as soon as I win the election, I will have that reporter out. He should have had him out a long time ago. But Putin's probably asking for billions and billions of dollars because this guy pays it every time. We had 2 cases where we paid $6 billion for 5 people.
I was going to have to come in
I got
and clean this
58
shit
people
up.
out, and I paid essentially nothing.
Thank you, President Trump. Dana?
Let's turn to concerns that voters have about each of you. President Biden, you would be 86 at the end of your second term. How do you address concerns about your capability to handle the toughest job in the world well into your 80s?
Well, first of all, I spent half my career being criticized being the youngest person in politics. I was the second youngest person ever elected to the United States Senate.
Now you're old as dirt.
This guy's 3 years younger and a lot less competent. I think that this.
Are we being serious? No way he believes that.
As I said, 50 million new jobs, 800,000 manufacturing jobs, more investment in America, over billions of dollars in private investment in enterprises that we are growing. By the way, we brought off a lot of people. The whole idea of computer chips, we used to have 40% of the market. We invented those chips, and we lost it because he was sending people to find the cheapest jobs overseas and then bring home a product. So I went to South Korea. I convinced Samsung to invest billions of dollars in the United States. And guess what? Those fabs, they call them, to build these chips, those fabs pay over $100,000. You don't need a college degree for them. And there's billions, about $40 billion already being invested and being built right now in the United States, creating significant jobs for Americans from all over the world.
President Biden, you have 40 seconds left. Would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I would. The idea that somehow we are this failing country. I never heard a president talk like this before. We're the envy of the world. Name me a single major country president who wouldn't trade places with the United States of America for all our problems and all our opportunities. We're the most progressive country in the world in getting things done. We're the strongest country in the world. We're a country in the world who keeps our word, and everybody trusts us. All of our allies and those who he coddles up to, from Kim Jong-un, he sends love letters to, and Putin, etc.
Thank you. Former President Trump, to follow up, you would be 82 at the end of your second term. What do you say to voters who have concerns about your capabilities to serve?
Well, I took 2 tests, cognitive tests. I aced them, both of them, as you know. We made it public. He took none. I'd like to see him take one, just one, a real easy one. Like go through the first 5 questions. He couldn't do it. But I took 2 cognitive tests. I took physical exams every year. And, you know, we knock on wood wherever we may have wood, that I'm in very good health. I just won 2 club championships, not even senior, 2 regular club championships. To do that, you have to be quite smart, and you have to be able to hit the ball a long way. And I do it. He doesn't do it. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. He challenged me to a golf match. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. I think I'm in very good shape. I feel that I'm as in good shape
golf
as
match.
I was
Let's get it.
25, 30 years ago. Actually, I'm probably a little bit lighter, but I'm in as good a shape as I was years ago. I feel very good. I feel the same. But I was willing to take a cognitive test. And you know what? If I didn't do well, I aced him. Dr. Ronnie Jackson, who's a great guy when he was White House doctor. And then I took another one, a similar one. And one of them said they'd never seen anybody ace him.
Thank you. President Biden?
You can see he is 6'5" and only 223 pounds, or 235 pounds. Well, you said 6'4", 200. Well, anyway, that's what anyway, just take a look at what he says he is, and take a look at what he is. Look, I'd be happy to have a driving contest with him. I got my handicap, which when I was vice president, down to a 6. But by the way, I told you before, I'm happy to play golf with you if you carry your own bag. Think you can do it?
That's the biggest lie. He's a 6 handicap of all.
I was an 8 handicap.
Yeah.
8. But I have, you know how many?
I've seen you swing. I know you swing.
let's
don't act like children.
President Trump, we're going to
21
turn
Let's not act like
Arguing
children.
about golf.
specific concern that voters have
Arguing
about
about golf.
you. Will you pledge tonight
Oh my gosh.
that once
Bro,
all
they're
legal
arguing about
challenges have been
golf. I
exhausted,
love
that
it.
you will accept the results of this election, regardless of who wins, and you will say right now that political violence in any form is unacceptable?
Well, I shouldn't have to say that, but of course I believe that. It's totally unacceptable. And if you would see my statements that I made on Twitter at the time, and also my statement that I made in the Rose Garden, you would say it's one of the strongest statements you've ever seen. In addition to the speech I made in front of, I believe, the largest crowd I've ever spoken to, and I will tell you, nobody ever talks about that. They talk about a relatively small number of people that went to the Capitol, and in many cases were ushered in by the police. And as Nancy Pelosi said, it was her responsibility, not mine. She said that loud and clear. But the answer is, if the election
dead.
is fair,
There's no way
free,
it's
and I
over.
want that more than anybody. And I'll tell you something.
Not at all, Michael.
I wish he was a great president, because I wouldn't be here right now. I'd be at one of my many places enjoying myself. I wouldn't be under indictment because I wouldn't have been his political opponent, because he indicted me because I was his opponent. I wish he was a great president. I would rather have that. I wouldn't be here. I don't mind being
There you
here.
go.
But the only reason I'm here is he's so bad as a president that I'm going to make America great again. We're going to make America great again.
Right, Monica.
We're a failing nation right now. We're a seriously failing nation. And we're a failing nation because of him. His policies are so bad. His military policies
Bro.
are insane. They're insane. These are wars that will never end with him. He will drive us into World War III, and we're closer to World War III than anybody can imagine. We are very, very close to World War III, and he's driving us there. And Kim Jong-un and President Xi of China, Kim Jong-un of North Korea, all of these, Putin, they don't respect him. They don't fear him.
It's
they
true.
have nothing going with this gentleman, and he's going to drive us into World War III.
You want a World War III? Let him follow and win, and let Putin say, "Do what you want, NATO. Just do what you want." There's a thing called Article 5. An attack on one is an attack on all.
Whoa,
and
look how
requires
big his eyes
response.
are.
The idea. I can't think of a single major leader in the world who wouldn't trade places with the job I've done and what they've done. Because we are a powerful nation. We have wonderful people. It's because of the
It's
people,
weird.
not me. It's because of the American people. They're capable of anything, and they step up when they're needed. And right now, we're needed. We're needed to protect the world because our own safety is at stake. And again, you want to have a war, just let Putin go ahead and take Kyiv, make sure they move on, see what happens in Poland, Hungary, and other places along that border. Then you have a war.
President Trump, as I come back to you for a follow-up, the question was, will you accept the results of this election, regardless of who wins?
Just to finish what he said, if I might, Russia, they took a lot of land from Bush. They took a lot of land from Obama and Biden. They took no land, nothing from Trump, nothing. He knew not to do it. He's not going to play games with me. He knew that. I got along with him very well, but he knew not to play games. He took nothing from me. But now he's going to take the whole thing from this man right here. That's a war that should have
He's
never
so
started.
crazy,
It would have
Monica.
never started, ever, with me. And he's going to take Ukraine. And, you know, you asked me a question before, would you do this? He's got us in such a bad position right now with Ukraine and Russia, because Ukraine's not winning that war. He said, I will never settle until such time. They're running out of people. They're running out of soldiers. They've lost so many people. It's so sad. They've lost so many people, and they've lost those gorgeous cities with the golden domes that are 1,000 years old, all because of him and stupid decisions. Russia would have never attacked if I were
President Trump,
president.
the question was, will you accept the results of the election, regardless of who wins? Yes or no, please.
But it
If
depends.
it's a fair and legal and good election, absolutely. I would have much rather accepted these, but the fraud and everything else was ridiculous. And if
Yes.
you want, we'll have a news conference on it in a week, or we'll have another one of these in a week.
Yeah.
But I will absolutely, there's nothing I'd rather do. It would be much easier for me to do that than I'm running again. I wasn't really going to run until I saw the horrible job he did. He's destroying our country. I would be very happy to be someplace else, in a nice location someplace. And again, no indictments, no political opponent stuff, because it's the only way he thinks he can win. But unfortunately, it's driven up my numbers and driven them up to a very high level because the people understand it.
Well, let's see what your numbers are when this election is over. Let's see. When you lost the first time, you continued, you appealed and appealed to courts all across the country.
Yeah.
Not one single court in America said any of your claims had any merit, state or local, none. But you continue to provoke this lie about somehow there's all this misrepresentation, all this stealing. There is no evidence of that at all. And I tell you what, I doubt whether you'll accept it because you're such a whiner. The idea if you lose again, you accepting anything, you can't stand the loss. Something snapped in you when you lost the last time.
That's so funny.
We'll be right back with more from the CNN presidential debate, live from Georgia.
Questions that have novel. The free can be really
all right, I think we're caught up, right? Are we caught up all the way, guys? What are you guys thinking so far? This is so hilarious. I don't know why the Democrats let Joe Biden do this, dude. I do not understand. He would not be doing this. Not at all. I'm pretty sure we're caught up, right? Yeah. All right, so we're live. Bro, what? This is crazy. I don't get it, dude. I don't get it. I just don't understand. What, like, I wish, like, a Biden voter was in my chat right now. I'd like to just have a conversation with them. Like, I'm talking about somebody who, like, legit supports them. And I just want to know, like, and I want it to be somebody I don't know. Like, just some random person in the chat. I'd like to know what they think, like, in all honesty, like, what they think of this. Because this is terrible for Biden. And obviously they're limiting the type of questions that Trump's going to be able to answer, but he's still finding ways to answer them. So, you know, I'll give him that. Trump's definitely winning this so far. This debate is like, he's smoking them.
It is now time for the candidates to deliver their closing statements. Predetermined by a coin toss. We're going to begin with you, President Biden. You have 2 minutes.
We've made significant progress from the debacle that was left.
That's a lie.
President Trump in his last term.
He's not responsible for
COVID. We find ourselves in a situation where, number one, we have to make sure that we have a fair tax system. I ask anyone out there in the audience or anyone out watching this debate, do you think the tax system is fair? The fact is that
get rid of
making under $400,000 had a single penny increase in their taxes, and will not. And if I'm reelected, that will be the case again. But this guy has increased your taxes because of the deficit. Number one, he's increased inflation because of the debacle he left after the way he handled the pandemic.
He wasn't in office. You are.
Where he now wants to tax you more by putting a 10% tariff on everything that comes into the United States of America.
That's not putting more tax on us.
For example,
that's on
he wants
them.
to get away with, get rid of the ability of Medicare us to be able to negotiate drug prices.
He's malfunctioning. Bro, he's malfunctioning.
We got it down to $35 for insulin instead of $400. No more than $2,000 for every senior, no matter how much prescription they need.
He malfunctioned.
That reduced the federal debt by $160 billion over 10 years because the government doesn't have to pay the exorbitant prices. I'm going to make that available to every senior all along. It's happening now.
He's so brain dead,
bro. He wants to get rid of that. I'm going to make sure that we have child care. We're going to significantly increase the credits people have for child care. I'm going to make sure we do something about what we're doing on lead pipes and all the things that are causing health problems for people across the country.
It's so bad, Michael. No, he lies just like every other demon, right?
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, you now have 2 minutes for your closing statement.
Kill him!
Like so many politicians, this man is just a complainer. He said, we want to do this, we want to do that, we want to get rid of this tax, that tax. But he doesn't do anything. He doesn't do, all he does is make our country unsafe by allowing millions and millions of people to pour in. Our military doesn't respect him. We look like fools in Afghanistan. We didn't stop Israel. It was such a horrible thing that would have never happened. It should have never happened. Iran was broke. Anybody that did business with Iran, including China, they couldn't do business with the United States. They all passed. Iran was broke. They had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah, for terror, no money whatsoever. Again, Ukraine should have never happened. He talks about all this stuff, but he didn't do it. For 3.5 years, we're living in hell. We have the Palestinians and we have everybody else rioting all over the place. You talk about Charlottesville. This is 100 times Charlottesville, 1,000 times. The whole country is exploding because of you, because they don't respect you, and they have to respect their president, and they don't respect you throughout the world. What we did was incredible. We rebuilt the military. We got the largest tax cut in history, the largest regulation cut in history. The reason he's got jobs is because I cut the regulations that gave jobs, but he's putting a lot of those regulations back on. All of the things that we've done, nobody's never seen anything like. Even from a medical standpoint, right to try, where we can try space-age materials instead of going to Asia or going to Europe and trying to get when you're terminally ill. Now you can go and you can get something. You sign a document. They've been trying to get it for 42 years. But you know what we did for the military was incredible. Choice for our soldiers, where our soldiers, instead of waiting for 3 months to see a doctor, can go out and get themselves fixed up and readied up and take care of themselves, and they're living. And that's why I had the highest approval rating in the history of the VA. So all of these things, we're in a failing nation, but it's not going to be failing anymore. We're going to make it great again.
Thank you, former President Trump, President Biden. Stay with us because we have full analysis of this debate. Anderson Cooper and Aaron Burnett starts now.
Let's hear what they have. You guys want to hear what they have to say? Dude, Anderson Cooper is going to fucking try and twist it so much.
And so the first presidential debate of the 2024 election season is in
She looks like a robot,
as you
don't she?
Witnessed President Biden
Can we
opening this
turn
debate
this
and
down a
continuing
little?
with a very shaky voice, a raspy voice that we have learned from advisors close to
He
him.
has a
Apparently he's had
cold.
for the past several days. But he also had a number of wandering answers during
Yeah,
this debate.
poo-poo
He had a
scooper
number
for sure.
of facts and accomplishments that he wanted to tout.
She looks like a fucking
sometimes
robot.
was distracting from that. President Trump offered repeated lies and exaggerations, but then President Biden failed to fact check Trump most of the time.
Because they weren't lies, so you're
We're
lying.
here tonight to discuss what we witnessed. John Dickerson, I'll start with you.
For the majority of Americans who don't want this choice, the debate met those expectations. I think you characterized it correctly. What we heard about President Biden is people who know him said, you know, when he was underestimated in the 2020 campaign, people said, look to his convention speech, and he exceeded expectations. They said, look to his State of the Union addresses when he exceeded expectations. On the debate stage, he came in well under expectations, both as a matter of performance and as arguing
without a
for
doubt,
why his
bro.
vision for the future is better. As you mentioned, Donald Trump gave fantastical delusional answers on January 6th, on Charlottesville, on what he said about the theft of the last election. And that matters because
But what he said was the truth, though. It doesn't matter what these people think. Hold on. I didn't mean to do that.
Biden, who had the behavioral challenge tonight, that's the theatrical challenge.
Oh, they ended it. Oh, shoot. They ended it. Let's see what Fox News has to say. They're not live right now? Okay, so they ended it already.
Were you born between 1970?
That's going off. I think it might be over. Presidential debate. Oh wait, here it is.
in
Here we go.
Atlanta. And I mean, here's a race that in some ways was essentially tied, perhaps, Donald Trump in the most of the national polls and swing state polls going into it had a lead in most of them.
Oh, really?
The Biden campaign wanted and needed a compelling performance from their candidate.
I wanted to hear what Anderson Cooper had to say, honestly. I think they said W.
And former President Trump responded to those issues. It got personal. Seemingly, though, cutting off the mics worked. There was not much crosstalk as well.
It wasn't bad.
Like I said, in sometimes it was meandering, and sometimes there was incoherence. You may have heard a frog in the throat of President Biden. And so we're going to be breaking all of this down, this analysis now in our post-debate coverage. We're going to start that off with my friend, Fox News correspondent Madison Scarpino. She joins me live from Atlanta. The debate just wrapped up. Madison, what were some of the key highlights? A lot of ground was covered with these issues, was it not?
Yeah, a lot of ground, Andrew. I'm sure we'll get into all of that in just a second, and you'll be reporting on that all night. But as far as some of the main back and forth circumstances between Biden and Trump, Biden came out and called Trump a sucker and a loser when they were discussing the topic of who was better with veterans, former President Trump or President Biden. Trump, when it comes to foreign policy, told Biden that, quote, the world is blowing up because of him, and went on to say things that he has long been saying for months, like that Putin would have never invaded Ukraine if he was president at the time. But just overall, a lot of insults back and forth. But they did touch on some of those main voter issues, which we know, in a nutshell, are the economy, immigration, and abortion.
Yeah, you know, Madison, to people watching, it seemed like it was 90-plus minutes of Biden saying, you were the worst president ever, and then Trump saying, no, you, Biden, are the worst president ever. I mean, it seemed as base as that.
Yeah, I didn't like that. I just wish that
and I think that wasn't much of a surprise for.
To be fair, Trump did say, we don't need to do this debate. We need to just fix the country. Like, he was spot on with what he said right there.
Beginning, cutting off the mics seemed to work. We definitely didn't see as much cutting off of each other as we did in previous debates between Biden and Trump.
Yeah, you know, Madison, it seemed like the rules held, at least for now, but there were personal attacks. There weren't really many fireworks, but both of them seemed muted, and we're going to be talking about this with some of our analysts and experts about kind of the personal aspect, the performance, the demeanor, the disposition. But there's a lot to get to. We thank Madison Scarpino there live in Atlanta. Madison, we'll talk soon.
Thanks, Andrew.
All right, in the meantime here, let's get it started. We want to recap all of these highlights. Now, remember, because there are some restrictions at play with some of the clips of the debate themselves. So we are not allowed, per CNN's rules, to show you some of those clips until 90 minutes after the debate is all said and done. We're going to do that.
When did you leave?
Because there's a lot of highlights we want to show you again and let you watch for a second time here. But let's take yet another quick commercial break. Remember, the spin room there is alive and well.
I mean, Trump smoked him, but like, bro, we don't need stuff like this, like 30 minutes in. Bro, there was so much they talked about. They just talked about immigration. They talked about the fentanyl problem. They talked about a bunch of nonsense that it's like, fuck, why talk about this shit? You need to just do something. Like, here's what doesn't make sense. Like DG said, bro. How are you gonna say if I were president, I would overturn Roe v. Wade? Like, bro, you've been president for almost 4 years now. What are you talking about? That's not something like you can't run on that, dude. You literally already been president and you should have done it. Like, I don't know, man. Shit's just dumb, dude. Don't make sense. I'm tired. I don't know. Trump smoked him. Regardless, Trump frickin' smoked him. Look, that's a good one. What the- Is it over or something? Oh, yeah. They ended it. Let's see if we can find. What's this one?
Here from prisons, jails, and mental institutions to come into our country and destroy our country.
President Trump, we will get to immigration later in this block. President Biden, I want.
It's just it's just a rerun. Okay, we could go. I don't think I'm getting on any game tonight. I'm probably just gonna chill, honestly.
Now that I know of, and I think I would know at least on the third or fourth phone call if there was an effort to replace the nominee. He's still the most experienced person in the race, and I do believe the American people want steady hands at the wheel.
And you thought that was steady tonight? You're comfortable with his performance?
Like I said, he didn't score
She
the
can't
home
answer.
run. We wanted him to hit it out the ballpark so we can enjoy the rest of the summer and maybe, in my case, just have another vacation. But look, the fact is that Joe Biden, tried to get his message out to the American people that I'm here to fight for you. I'm here to lower the cost. But most importantly, I'm here to continue to make America strong and more united. He couldn't get that message out. He was busy fact-checking, busy looking, saying, I can't believe it. Joe Biden had to talk to the American people and hit it out the ballpark. It was a missed opportunity, but he's still in the race. This race is not over.
Really interesting the point you make there, Donna, and I just want to underscore that because I think it's important that I follow up on the idea that, and you heard Mary and John talk about this, some of the falsehoods that might have come from the other podium.
Hold on, we gotta
You
find
believe that
CNN, guys.
President Biden was...
My buddy said that they turned on him. We gotta find it. So maybe this one? No. Oh, fuck, my dude just messaged me and said they turned. Okay, here we go.
Because the history of that is bad. The point
minutes into the debate, and it continues right now. It involves party strategists, it involves elected officials, it involves fundraisers. And they're having conversations about the president's performance, which they think was dismal, which they think will hurt other people down the party in the ticket, and they're having conversations about what they should do about it. Some of those conversations include, should we go to the White House and ask the president to step aside? Other of the conversations are about, should prominent Democrats go public with that call? Because they feel this debate was so terrible. They do say, in moments in the debate later, the president got better and got his footing, but then at the end, even his closing statement was a little halting. The contrast between the two candidates. Let me be clear. None of them, and a lot of Republicans, don't think Donald Trump had a great night. Donald Trump broke the fact-check machine more than I can count tonight. That will be on the record as we go forward. He refused to answer some very specific and direct questions about his conduct, about January 6th and what all. So that will be dealt with out there. And sometimes there's a parallel universe between the political elites and the American people. It'd be nice to see what the voters say. But I can tell you, it started minutes in. It started with the first couple of answers, and it has continued throughout the night from oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, to what do we do about this? And it involves very senior people in the Democratic Party, including elected officials, saying we have a problem.
And just to co-sign what John is saying, I mean, the panic that I am hearing from Democrats is not like anything that I have heard in this campaign so far. And a lot of it has to do with, first of all, there was a deep frustration about Trump's lies. I mean, he lied a lot tonight. But the problem for Biden was that Trump was able to take sometimes incredible falsehoods and turn them into some kind of argument, whereas Biden's answers
no, they were just real.
Not coherent, deeply problematic that he was not able to take pretty straightforward answers and answer them to the American public. And then also at some points, bringing things up that teed up Trump attacks. So there's a real concern here tonight that there's been some real damage done that cannot be undone. Biden solidified the perception among voters, but especially among his base. They were hoping that tonight would be a game changer. They are now seeing a president who is in the White House, who they do not necessarily believe can do this for another 4 years.
David Axelrod?
Look, I can't argue with either of them about how Democratic leaders are reacting to this poll. We said at the beginning that each person had a fundamental goal. And for Biden, that goal was to appear energetic, engaged, and look like someone who is capable of serving for another 4 years.
But he didn't.
For president. That was job number one. I actually think he scored a bunch of points. I think if you judge this on sort of policy stuff, he did score a bunch of points on issues like abortion, for example, on some of the economic issues. But there is a feeling, I think there was a sense of shock, actually, at how he came out at the beginning of this debate, how his voice sounded, he seemed a little disoriented. He did get stronger as the debate went on, but by that time, I think the panic had set in. And I think you're going to hear discussions that I don't know will lead to anything, but there are going to be discussions about whether he should continue. And I think part of it is Donald Trump did not meet his mission either. He could not resist the temptation to be nasty, to prevaricate about a whole bunch of things, about his own record, about Biden's record, and to seem petty and small at times. So what you saw was a candidate who's deeply vulnerable and a president who may not be able to take advantage of it.
Listen, if anybody in America thinks that was even close to being an okay debate by Joe Biden, I'm living in a parallel universe.
Yeah.
That was an unmitigated disaster for President Biden from the second he walked out to the closing statement. The biggest issue for Democrats is abortion, and he couldn't give an answer. He gave an answer, he couldn't even give a coherent answer on the biggest issue for Democrats tonight. I've heard from leading Democrats across the United States, elected governors, congressmen, who are texting me and saying, I'm worried I'm going to lose if Joe Biden's at the top of the ticket. Bob Casey, I promise you tonight, in the state of Pennsylvania, is thrown up in his mouth because he knows that if he's got to stand next to Joe Biden, he's going down in Pennsylvania. If he's on the ticket, I don't know how it's going to work.
Yeah, look, it was a really disappointing debate performance for Joe Biden. I don't think there's any other way to slice it. His biggest issue that he had to prove to the American people was that he had the energy and the stamina.
Be cool, Jose. You're such
so
a
I think
fucking
that is of concern.
bully,
and,
dude.
And I think for a lot of Democrats, that's very disappointing. I will say Donald Trump also had some really rough moments in this debate.
Richie's
and
my
talking
dude.
to the Biden campaign, they say
Be cool.
their dials started really moving away from Trump as he was increasing his personal attacks on Biden. So I think there was a lot about his kind of character and the kind of personal nastiness that he was putting on display, that doesn't help him with the swing voters that he needs. And I also think you saw him continue to get sort of more and more animated across the course of the debate and, give some really problematic answers about January 6th, some really problematic answers about Putin. So, Donald Trump did not get off scot-free tonight by any stretch. But look, there is no two ways about it. That was not a good debate for Joe Biden.
That was painful.
Do you hear? Hold on. Listen.
He didn't do well at all.
Nastiness that he was putting on display.
Well, I'll back it up a little bit.
To prevaricate about a whole bunch.
Issue that he had to prove to the American people was that he had the energy and the stamina, and he didn't do that. And so I think that is of concern. And I think for a lot of Democrats, that's very
Shut up and let
disappointing.
Will listen.
I will say Donald Trump also had some really rough moments in this debate. And
No, he didn't.
talking to the Biden campaign,
No.
their dials started really moving away from
that's
Trump
a
as he was increasing his personal
lie.
attacks on Biden. So I think there was
That's
a
a
lot about his
lie.
kind of character and
That's
the
a
kind of personal nastiness that he
lie.
was putting on
You're
display.
lying.
That doesn't help him with the swing voters that he needs. And I also think you saw him continue continue to get sort of more and more animated across the course of the debate and, give some really problematic answers about January 6th, some really problematic answers about Putin. So, Donald Trump did not get off scot-free tonight by any stretch. But look, there is no two ways about it. That was not a good debate for Joe Biden.
Bro, CNN is torching him.
That was painful. I love Joe Biden. I work for Joe Biden. He didn't do well at all. He did not do well at all. And he looked, I'll give you the analysis, you kind of have the old man versus the con man. I can walk you through how I'm supposed to see it and say it, but I just want to speak from my heart. I love that guy. That's a good man. He loves his country. He's doing the best that he can. But he had a test to meet tonight to restore confidence of the country and of the base, and he failed to do that. And I think there's a lot of people who are going to want to see him consider taking a different course now. We're still far from our convention, and there is time for this party to figure out a different way forward if he will allow us to do that. But that was not what we needed from Joe Biden, and it's personally painful for a lot of people. It's not just panic, it's pain of what we saw tonight.
And if I may just add to that, I think Joe Biden lost in the first 3 minutes. I think a lot of voters probably tuned out, and millions of people are having conversations with their families, with their friends, of if the president is up to the task and if he should step aside. And I'm someone who believes the former president is a threat to democracy. I think he is a threat to the America as we know it. He wants to fundamentally change our institutions. He has laid out what his plan is. I am not confident that that is the man to take him on. You cannot tell me democracy is on the line and then give that performance tonight. If, based on that, in 18 weeks, Donald Trump will be the president-elect.
The people doing focus groups.
Got him! Bitch, you're voting for him. You already know it.
Confirms this. That Biden actually scores pretty well on the issues when he's talking about the substance. And Trump's numbers went down both because he was ducking questions, he was lying about some things, and he was refusing to answer. And some of it was the tone. They don't like him. So when you see that, when you see sort of the statistics, you're going to look at like, oh, that's a mixed bag. But to Vance's point about the president's performance,
we're a constitutional republic.
So the question is, and my question actually is, what happens? Because it's a great political strength of Joe Biden is his resilience and his stubbornness. It's also sometimes a blind spot because he is so stubborn. It's going to be very hard to someone, and I don't know who it is, who could go to Joe Biden and say, you need to do this. Number one. And the question is, again, like, I'm just telling you, to Abby's point, I've been doing this for 30-something years, going on 40 years, and I have never, ever had what happened on this thing tonight happen in the middle of a debate. It started early, and it continued. And to Van's point, Van made a very important point. These are people who love Joe Biden, who credit Joe Biden for kicking Donald Trump out of the White House. They're Democrats. The Democratic Party is a very diverse party. It fights about a lot of things. It has generational issues. It's had regional issues and everything else. The thing that unites the Democratic Party is trying to keep Donald Trump from getting back into the White House. They love Joe Biden for kicking him out. They don't want him back. They came into this debate nervous that Biden was in a weak position.
Yeah.
They leave this debate panicked.
All these
John, if you
people
love the guy, how could you put him out there? If you love him, if you love Joe Biden, if that was my father, you don't put a guy in that situation.
It's a great point. These guys know this better. These guys know this better because they talk to them. There's this legacy in the Democratic Party. You don't challenge the incumbent because when it's happened in the past, they haven't beaten the incumbent, and then the incumbent has lost the general election.
It was actually Donald Trump that helped make Joe Biden the nominee because there was a feeling that if there were a primary, that would weaken, that Biden would probably win, but it would weaken him in a general election. And so there were people who could have run and didn't run because the history of that is bad. The point is now he is the nominee of the Democratic Party. This isn't the 60s, okay? Voters choose the nominee. He is the nominee. Only he can decide whether he's going to continue. And as you point out, and as Kate knows very well, this is a guy with a lot of pride and who believes in himself. And the idea that he's going to say, you know what, I had a bad debate, I think I'm going to walk away from this, I find it hard to believe.
It was also, and I'll let you, I know, Scott, you've been trying to jump in, but it was also, it was an atypically bad performance, okay? And it was also one night. So yes, was it an important night? Yes, but it was one night in the course of the campaign. So I think let's see how voters react to it. Let's see how voters react to it.
The problem with the one night is that it's a one night that helped confirm people's fears. It's the one night that everybody was watching. That was essentially, Trump said, you ought to take a test. That was his test. And people are going to feel that he came up wanting, not on the substance. I think he actually won on the substance. I don't think Trump did well. I think
Oh,
what it
you're
says to
lying
a lot
to
of people,
yourself.
a lot of active Democrats is, man, we can beat this guy.
He's
but I don't know if
lying,
we can
bro.
beat him
He's lying
with
to
the
himself
press
right now.
guys.
There's no shot.
When we came on before this debate, I said I thought this candidacy was teetering. And everybody jumped on me.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
Every single person out here. And I just, the candidacy has fallen, okay? Van, I know you're speaking from your heart. I'm worried about the president. We should pray for the president. I think his advisors, I think the White House,
They need to
and
tell
I
him
think
to
his
bow out.
family have a lot of explaining to do to their party and to the American people.
Yes.
This night, this one night, was caused by and asked for by the Biden team. They wanted this night.
Yes.
And this is what we got. We have been told for weeks by Democrats who say, oh, in private meetings, I've seen Joe Biden do cartwheels and handstands while doing trigonometry while solving all the nation's problems. We now know that every single person who said that
It's a lie.
has been lying to the American people.
Including
Yes.
Kevin McCarthy.
We've been told, Kate.
Yes.
I mean, I'm just saying.
Yes.
Everything we've been told about his mental acuity.
Yes. He won't say it. I will.
by
Yes.
these Democrats has been a lie, and everything we think we knew has been confirmed. I got a text from a friend. She's not terribly political. She'd maxed out to Biden in the last election because she hates Donald Trump. She said to me, I will never forgive the Democratic Party for this election. If the Democrats truly believe that he is an existential threat to democracy,
Crazy alpha.
and that's not just some talking point, they will wake up in the morning and they will do something else because this is not sustainable.
That's another point about there are Democrats who are panicking, and then there are a lot of Republicans who did not want to vote for Donald Trump, who do not want to vote for Donald Trump, who are also panicking tonight. I heard from one.
Yeah,
who
grasping
said,
for straws, trying to
"This
see
is
something. No,
scary."
1,000%.
That's how
Will
it was described
1,000%.
to me. And
I'd
so
second that.
There were a lot. There was a lot of those feelings, not just from the base of the party, but other people who really think that there should be an alternative to Trump, who they think is dangerous, and that's the other part of what is unfolding tonight in terms of the panic that is out there.
You already have, coming into this debate,
Without a
support for
doubt,
third-party
dude.
candidates. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. highest, and then Jill Stein and Cornel West nowhere near as close. But if you add it all up, you get into the teens in most states when you do that. I think one byproduct out of this is watch and see if those numbers go up a little bit. I'm not saying they're going to go up anywhere like a Perot standard, but you get to third-party candidates getting into double digits, then that's really starts to twist your electoral math state depending on who they're drawing from state by state. This was already a very complicated race. This is within. Number one, the biggest complication right now is the conversation with the Democratic Party. But the other complication is going to be if Joe Biden stays put, and Kate's right, maybe there'll be another debate. I'm not sure Donald Trump's going to agree to a second debate. Biden's going to need it now. I'm not sure Trump's going to agree to it. If
I
the
wouldn't.
dynamics of the race
I
change.
wouldn't if I was Trump. Like, no, I'm good.
I just want to say one thing.
We need an
especially to
audience.
you two guys. If, for whatever reason, there's a change at the top of the ticket, you guys are in trouble with Donald Trump, because the guy who was up there tonight is not a guy who's going to inspire people. He did not show in any way that he has changed from the guy who people don't have a very positive opinion of for a lot of good reason.
I think Donald Trump won several policy exchanges tonight. I think he did well on immigration. I think he did well on the economy. I think he did well on inflation. I think he went back to Afghanistan as he should have. The thing he did not do was, after he realized that he had Biden beaten on policy and on image, he should have turned the page and sounded an optimistic note about what we can become as a people and as a country. He did not do that. He continued to pummel Joe Biden all night. I understand what you're saying, but at the end of the night, very few things about the policy exchanges is going to be remembered. People are going to remember Joe Biden. They're going to remember him shuffling out. They're going to remember him staring blankly into the camera. They're going to remember him looking down, losing his train of thought. And they're going to remember that everything I thought I knew, but the White House told me don't believe my own eyes, is actually true.
But that's not what I'm saying. What I
Got
said,
him.
Scott, was if Joe Biden
Nope.
were not the candidate, if there was another candidate, I think Donald Trump would be in deep trouble.
You're talking what if, though.
That is such a sad state of affairs. Something I was consistently hearing is, what a bad debate in the sense that Donald Trump lied throughout. He misrepresented.
No, he
tried
didn't.
to turn away
No.
from key points that he should have given answers on
No.
and kept
No,
deflecting.
you're a
With
rhino.
any normal generic Democrat next to him.
You see how
I
they
don't
try
think
and
he
still
would have
spin
won
it?
the night,
This chick's
but
a
you put somebody who
rhino.
was suffering from the moment that they got out. It was hard to watch. I had to occasionally look away because it was so uncomfortable. I think America deserves better than the options that are in front of them. It's really devastating. And by the way, our allies are watching.
Yeah, look, I mean, the way that I would try to phrase it if I were less emotional is Biden stuttered, but he told the truth. He looked terrible, but his policies were good. Trump spoke plainly, but he lied the whole time. And he looked good, but his policies were terrible. I mean, he's going to do nothing on climate change. He was hugging the cactus on abortion. I mean, his policies are terrible. So you have somebody who probably shouldn't be president, and you have somebody who cannot be president in terms of what Donald Trump represents. So we have a problem as a country now, and this might be an opportunity for people to come together and figure this out, because neither one of those people right now are inspiring the confidence that they should inspire, that they can do the job in a way that would be good for the country.
But young voters are up for grabs in this election, and I don't know a voter under 30 who would have watched tonight and could say, I have confidence in Joe Biden and casting my vote for 4 more years of Biden.
And this opens the door.
How
by the
does
way,
this
for the
lady have the
conversation
audacity to
about
call herself a
if Joe
Republican?
Biden
Is
remains the
beyond me,
candidate,
bro.
You're not voting for Joe Biden. You are voting for President Kamala Harris. Let's be honest. That is where the Trump campaign is going to go with this. They started down this road with an ad they released today. But this conversation about who you're actually casting your vote for, the volume is going to ratchet up. And I got news for you. She's less popular than he is. That is going to be a big problem for the Democrats if this ticket stays the way it is.
Yeah, and a Scott's Democratic friend who maxed out, right? That's the sentiment you're going to hear, I think, from some of my Democratic friends who are texting me saying, "I can't believe this is where we are." Right?
Yeah.
I don't forgive. I can't. I'm not going to be able to forgive the party for putting in this position.
Look, on the lies on Donald Trump's lies. I mean, I spent a lot of time thinking about this throughout the debate because, we in the media, I sit in the chair and I fact check Trump all the time, so I know these lies by heart at this point. But people watching from home do not. And Biden's job as the other person on the other side of the stage is to be the one to very quickly dispense with the lies and to shut them down. And
But you
I
can't.
don't think that happened enough times in a coherent way to blunt the fact that Trump was taking a
Wow,
universe
they've
that was
officially
built
turned
a
on
house
him,
of
bro.
lies and building
They have
building
turned
a whole
on
world
Biden.
for the millions of people watching.
Particularly on some of the most basic subject matters that President Biden should have been able to just.
That world that he was able to build, it was not knocked down by the president. That is really at the heart of the problem. He may have won when he was making his discrete policy points, but part of the job on the debate stage is dealing with
This
an
is
opponent
crazy.
like Donald Trump who goes like a mile a minute on things that are not true. And if you don't
I'm
deal
not
with
sure,
that,
Abby.
I don't know if
But
no one at home is doing that.
All I
No
want
one
to
at
say
home
is
doing that.
I'm not sure. I don't think you're giving viewers enough credit. I think what they saw was the Trump that they didn't like. And I don't think he did himself a great service tonight.
But
yes, and I also think we should
I think we
let
should just
voters
end the
absorb
debates.
this and see
Yeah.
what they say, right? Let's
Yeah,
look
they
at
might
the
surprise
dials.
us.
Let's
might
look at
surprise
focus
us.
groups. Let's look at where they are next week.
might
We can
very-
make our pronouncements, but
real quickly.
ultimately voters have to absorb
They're going
it.
to turn
Let's
your
see what
mics
they
off,
say.
guys.
Real
You're gonna
quickly,
turn
on
your mics off.
the one thing that that Biden did fact check him on the Charlottesville thing, he was completely wrong. Right, so he's up there talking about Charlottesville and Trump not denouncing the two sides, and Snopes was out last week, 7 months, 7 years too late, kind of thing on the deal, and that's the thing Joe Biden's going to fact check him on, something that was proven false.
We're gonna more with the panel out here. A lot of notable moments, painful moments from tonight. But as we've been talking about, perhaps a single defining one as well. This one early on.
All right. Oh man, this is crazy, dude. I can't believe. Oh look, RFK held one. Let's see what RFK
The
has.
first time you continued, you appealed and appealed to courts all across the country. Not one single court in America
Let's watch
said
this.
any of your claims had any merit, state or local, none. But you continue to provoke this lie about somehow there's all this misrepresentation, all this stealing. There is no evidence of that at all. And I tell you what, I doubt whether you'll accept it because you're such a whiner. The idea, if you lose again, you accepting anything, you can't stand the loss. Something snapped in you when you lost the last time.
And that's it for the CNN debate. This is your forum. You get the final word. But just one observation is that listening to them, America is in terrible decline. But I don't see people risking their lives to leave America or to go to many other countries. They want to come here. And you say the middle class is disappearing. It's true. It's getting smaller. But the data show mostly because they're going into the upper class. I think America is doing pretty well, and we just need you politicians to leave us alone.
I do want to make an observation about President Trump's final point, which I think is a very, very important point for Americans to understand. We are closer to nuclear war right now.
I just want to see RFK. This is hilarious. He put himself in the debate.
Hardly covered by the press, which is we fired a missile in coordination with Ukraine into a series of missiles into Crimea with cluster bombs, which every nation in the world except for us and North Korea says is a war crime. We dropped them on a civilian population.
He is very boring. I just want to hear.
Sunning themselves on a beach. And we killed a lot of children. And the previous week, the Russians are in Cuba firing missiles because they've warned us. We are going to win lose the war in Ukraine. I've said that from the beginning. We cannot beat Russia and the Ukraine. They cannot allow themselves.
We just watched CNN cook them, bro.
Ukraine. The last time they were invaded, the Russians killed, Hitler killed 1 out of every 7 Russians. They're not going to let us put NATO in Ukraine. They cannot do it. It's absolutely.
You mean Ukraine and NATO?
National security, and we need to recognize that. And we are pushing toward a war with a nuclear power that says
you hear how much he's
weapon if they're pushing.
Listen to how much he's defending Trump.
They have 2,500 more nuclear weapons than we do. They have better defensive weapons, and we cannot fight a world war anymore.
My dude Jimmy said he's regretting.
Couldn't get 1 million men across the Atlantic. Even worse, we do not have an industrial base like we did before World War II. We can't create weapons anymore. We create small numbers, but nothing like the Chinese or the Russians. This is something that every American needs to understand how close the incompetence of this administration has brought us to war.
Closing statements now. We have closing statements from.
Can I say a closing?
You'll get your closing statement right after they get theirs.
It's so funny. This dude put himself in the debate. Like, he has his own little stage. What the fuck? What?
We're going to begin with you, President Biden. You have 2 minutes.
Come on, man.
We've made significant progress from the debacle that was left by President Trump.
We got there's 5 million people watching this. What's up, Nova? This is so funny.
Where, number one, we have to make sure that we have a fair tax system.
Yeah, we know.
I ask anyone out there in the audience or anyone out watching this debate, do you think the tax system is fair? The fact is that I said nobody even making under $400,000.
in the room, bro. No, but this is freaking hilarious. And if I'm reelected, I'm dead, dude. I am freaking dead.
Has increased your taxes because of the deficit. Number one, he's increased inflation because of the debacle he left after the way he handled the pandemic. And he finds himself in a position where he now wants to tax you more by putting a 10% tariff on everything that comes into the United States.
Bro, how you doing tonight?
What I did, when, for example, he wants to get away with, get rid of the ability of Medicare
he was malfunctioning right there.
Drug prices with the big pharma companies. Well, guess what? We got it down to $35 for insulin instead of $400.
So funny, Will.
No more than $2,000.
I got to hear what RFK says.
No matter how much prescription they need. You know what that did? That reduced the federal deficit debt by $160 billion over 10 years because the government doesn't have to pay the exorbitant prices. I'm going to make that available to every senior all along. It's happening now, and everybody in America. He wants to get rid of that. I'm going to make sure that we have child care. We're going to significantly increase the credit people have for child care. I'm going to make sure we do something about what we're doing on lead pipes and all the things that are causing health problems for people across the country. We're going to continue to fight to bring down inflation and give people a break.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, you now have 2 minutes for your closing statement.
Like so many politicians, this man is just a complainer. He said, we want to do this, we want to do that, we want to get rid of this tax, that tax. But he doesn't do anything. All he does is make our country unsafe by allowing millions and millions of people to pour in. Our military doesn't respect him. We look like fools in Afghanistan. We didn't stop Israel. It was such a horrible thing that would have never happened. It should have never happened. Iran was broke. Anybody that did business with Iran, including China, they couldn't do business with the United States. They all passed. Iran was broke. They had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah, for terror, no money whatsoever. Again, Ukraine should have never happened. He talks about all this stuff, but he didn't do it. For 3.5 years, we're living in hell. We have the Palestinians and we have everybody else rioting all over the place. You talk about Charlottesville. This is 100 times Charlottesville, 1,000 times. The whole country is exploding because of you, because they don't respect you, and they have to respect their president, and they don't respect you throughout the world. What we did was incredible. We rebuilt the military. We got the largest tax cut in history, the largest regulation cut in history. The reason he's got jobs is because I cut the regulations that gave jobs, but he's putting a lot of those regulations back on. All of the things that we've done, nobody's never seen anything like. Even from a medical standpoint, right to try, where we can try space-age materials instead of going to Asia or going to Europe and trying to get when you're terminally ill. Now you can go and you can get something. You sign a document. They've been trying to get it for 42 years. But you know what we did for the military was incredible. Choice for our soldiers, where our soldiers, instead of waiting for 3 months to see a doctor, can go out and get themselves fixed up and readied up and take care of themselves, and they're living. And that's why I had the highest approval rating in the history of the VA. So all of these things, we're in a failing nation, but it's not going to be failing anymore. We're going to make it great again.
And he ran out of time. Mr. Kennedy, 2 minutes, closing statement.
In 2013, there was a poll taken that asked young people under 35 in this country, are you proud of the United States? 85% said yes. The same poll taken 5 months ago, 18% said yes. So somehow, during the administration of these two presidents, an entire generation of Americans has lost pride in our country and a hope in their own futures. And they feel that way because they see what
the government is in our country. What is this dude talking about?
In America, that is going to live worse lives than their parents. They see the vitriol that you saw here, the division, the polarization that makes them disgusted with politics. They're seeing the corrupt merger of state and corporate power that has transformed our agencies from the CIA, the health agencies, the environmental agencies, into sock puppets.
You don't want to talk about the FBI or that.
They're seeing the destruction of our soils, the destruction of our air and water. They're watching this happen, and the politicians do nothing about it except for hate on each other. If you want more of the same, you should vote for President Biden, President Trump. You know what's going to happen. You know that. They're going to give you 4 more years of the same stuff. If you
But that doesn't make sense.
Completely change. You're going to support me because I'm going to change everything. And this is a
not even everybody
fight.
is
this
clapping.
Is a moral battle for the soul of our nation. To restore our moral authority around the world by projecting economic power abroad rather than spending $8 trillion on regime change wars that have left every nation we've touched worse off than we found it. And restoring our moral authority here at home. The first day in office, I'm going to, you heard what they're going to do. You don't even understand it. Here's what I'm going to do. Day 1 in office, I'm going to issue an executive order saying any federal official who tells a lie to the American public will lose his job. So I'm going to stop.
You're going to have to
surveillance
hire
state.
every
I'm gonna
single
stop
one
the
of them.
propagandizing by our agencies of the American public. I'm going to unravel the war machine. I'm going to unravel the corrupt merger of state and corporate power. I know how to do it. I've been litigating against these agencies for years, and I'm uniquely suited to do this, but I can tell you, I'm going to do these things when I get in there. I'm going to make sure that our Constitution is protected, that AI is deployed to make government more transparent rather than by government to enslave the rest of us. I'm going to bring AI home and blockchain home because we need these new industries to grow our way out of the debt crisis. This is something that these two aren't even talking about. But if you want everything to change, you'll support me. If you want to vote out of fear, you need to support one of those guys.
Nobody's voting for you,
If you want to vote out of hope, out of inspiration, out of pride in your country, out of restoring the moral backbone of our people.
Hopefully, he just takes a bunch of Democrat votes. Yeah, not happening, bud. Sorry, Cheech. Not happening. Not happening. Fox. Oh, they're talking to Matt Gaetz.
Cali Express tout.
See, well, that was entertaining.
Them, that he's going to fight for them.
Tonight.
See what Matt Gaetz has to say.
I think Governor Newsom's here to check to see if, like, Joe Biden still has a pulse anymore. He's a pretty opportunistic guy who wants to be president, and right now the Democrats are in a state of freefall.
Representative
the campaign has collapsed after this debate? The Biden campaign has collapsed, disintegrated. Joe Biden is clearly a man in decline. He is in a campaign in decline. Unfortunately, he is leading a country in decline. So if we want to restore hope and promise back to people, we've got to get President Trump back in the White House. And the best way to get the Trump policies is President Trump. Joe Biden didn't look like a man who was in command of the country or the facts or his own campaign or the debate. And, like, this is after Joe Biden retreated to a log cabin in the woods for a week to get constantly drilled. Meanwhile, President Trump was out on the road, campaigning in swing states, carrying his message directly to the voters.
This is Fox News.
An energetic president. We get that in President Trump, and with President Biden, it's more like a silver alert than an energetic president.
Yeah. Live now for Fox.
In Atlanta, this is a swing state. There are 8% undecided voters, right? A lot of those voters that I talk to say, I'm not showing up anyway. I'm going to stay home. Did this performance tonight convince these voters here in Georgia to come out and vote for your candidate?
That's a great point. President Trump will secure the border, he will save our economy, he will restore our standing in the world, and he will end the wars. I think that's what voters want in both political parties. And no matter what Joe Biden's campaign says, you saw a man who cannot execute on anything. He cannot execute on presidential vision. He could barely execute pre-planned, pre-canned lines in the debate. So I would encourage folks here in Georgia, if you want to see these interest rates come down, if you want to be able to buy a home, if you want your place of
we'll
work
watch
to be
him in 1
growing
minute.
and
I'll
not
turn him on after
contracting,
I
you need to
hear
get
what he
out
has
and
to
vote
say.
for President Trump.
Earlier today, we talked to Governor Brian Kemp, and I asked him, hey, look, there are people who might like Trump's policies, but they do not like him. They don't like his character. They don't like what he represents. They don't feel like it's a person that their kids can look up to. How can he get around that? His character flaws that some people feel like he has.
I saw someone on stage tonight displaying a focus and a seriousness that ought to really reassure those voters, reassure them that he's going to fight for them. President Trump's policies improved quality of life for people. Even people who didn't agree with him saw bigger paychecks, they saw cheaper gas, they saw their purchasing power go farther at the grocery store and when they were paying for electricity. And so you don't have to like President Trump to vote for him.
Do you just forget about the things that you don't like, though?
Well, you just have to like yourself. If voters care about their own economic conditions, their own safety, their own own hope for a better future for the country, then they should vote for President Trump.
Right.
Thank you.
All right,
All right, so both Congresswoman Elise Stefanik and Congressman Matt Gaetz there kind of...
Maybe I'll just type Huckson. The Huckson, let's see. I don't know if Hannity's live on here. Yeah, I don't think Hannity's live, Will, on here.
You don't see a lot of people break off like that. And that's really the Bedingfield comment on the record is just astounding here. You know, would Biden show up on the debate stage in September? So much of this race has been diffuse. There have been these massive moments throughout. I mean, Trump, the former president of the United States, was convicted of 34 felonies. The son of a sitting president of the United States was convicted just a few weeks later of federal gun charges.
That was brought up just once in the debate. I want to add that. That was only brought up once. We were told by the Biden camp that the Trump felony convictions were going to be a key feature of tonight. Once.
So many huge things. I mean, these are all historic. Take all of them. Every one of these is so historic. And the country, so much of the country is still tuned out from this. And so the run-up to this debate was all about how here's a singular moment where people will tune back in. And you tune back in and you see this. And, you know, again, we have to see what the numbers are coming out of this. But if that bears out, I mean, through a simulcast, through all the collected mass media attention on it, if that bears out, it looks terrible for Biden.
Is that really bad?
I don't see how he's got to survive the convention first. Like AG was saying, there's just way too many questions right now.
Sure. So let's set the timetable and the calendar, so to speak. July 11th, former President Trump will be sentenced. We'll find out what that is. July 15th, the RNC starts. And then I believe the second week of August. The DNC starts there in Chicago, also September 10th. That's the date for the next presidential debate, the final one, we're told, at least for now, on ABC News. So that's kind of the calendar for the remainder of the summer. It is a long general election cycle. You guys and I have discussed that all the time, ad nauseum here. But I want to get back to the debate performance, Biden and Trump. Let's talk about Trump's performance as well here. Let's talk about, you know, to what Matt Gaetz said. Was that a stable presence there on the stage? From watching it for the last 90 minutes here, it seemed like both of these candidates were meandering, were incoherent. Each response had like 3 or 4 different subjects or issues or topic. They went from COVID to January 6th to the border, back to abortion, like all in one answer. And so it was very hard personally for me to keep track and to follow the through line in each response, because they jumped from topic to topic to topic so many times. That was both Trump and Biden, AG, right? Did you notice that? It was somewhat incoherent.
Yeah, I mean, that was my take too. And a lot of that is Trump's communication style. You see him at the rallies and he jumps from one thing to another. And he did that during this debate. And it felt like for a lot of the debate, he was kind of sparring with Biden, trying to figure him out. But yeah, I mean, and that kind of comes back to what Gaetz said
I'm putting
about
the F in there. That's why I'm an idiot.
I don't think Trump gave the kind of performance that would reassure swing voters, you know, who saw what happened on January 6th, who saw what happened during the last year of his presidency, especially the way he handled the pandemic and everything else. I don't see those voters coming over because, you know, Trump talked about how he had the best economy ever. The economy was slowing down before the pandemic. That's the reality of it. The last 2 quarters before COVID-19 hit, you're seeing a slowdown in the economy. So these things that Gates pointed to is kind of wish casting a little bit. And, that was basically the thing. Trump needed to win over some people who might have been put off of him in 2020. I don't think he is.
They're not smart. Let's see. One of my clips got put on this video. They're liberal as shit. I bet you they're gonna try and. Let me see. I don't see anyone else really doing anything. Like, it seems like. Yeah, it seems like people are
Hi
just
everyone,
walking
Mark
around.
Barton here.
I don't care, Mark.
This is the spin room. So even though they have a different room that they wanted to put their people in, as far as strategy goes, as far as where the reporters are, this is where everyone is right now. And again, all these piles of people you see here, all these reporters, these cameras, they're surrounding Trump surrogates. You can see the signs up there, right? Senator Tim Scott. Let's walk over. Vivek Ramaswamy's over here. Senator Marco Rubio's over here. Let's go see if we can get Senator Rubio real quick to see what he says. We're going to send it back to you guys in the studio as we give you a live shot of Senator Rubio, and we'll stay out here in the spin room floor.
All right, very good, Tom. Thank you. Joining us now from the debate spin room is North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum. Governor, good evening. Thank you for being with us.
In Arizona, Wisconsin, we are so serious. It doesn't matter how weak Joe Biden is. That's the stronger that we have to be. And so we need you and need everybody out there to help us.
Download the Turning Point Action app right now. This night, by the way, I want to say, Jack, we deserve, all of you in the audience right now that have been kicked and spit on, said that Joe Biden is fully mentally acute. It's a cheap fake. By the way, do we have the Chuck Todd clip that says all the things that the right wing were saying was correct? Can we get that Chuck Todd clip? You deserve tonight. You deserve just to be able to say, one for the good guys.
Yeah, I'm going to do a video about it.
I just want to say that because it has been very difficult. I got to sign a book right here for Brian, who just became a member, members.charliekirk.com. We are about to connect back to Real America's Voice. But when you become a member, you guys get a signed book. Oh, this one is also to Jason, and the next one is to Sarah. Jason, you get a book. Jason, God bless. I'm going to send you a book. And you get so many other benefits, too, at members.charliekirk.com. Okay, do we have the Sleepy Todd? Okay, hello to Real America's Voice. I just want to say, Real America's Voice, to our amazing audience that Jack and I talked every day, and Jack, I'm going to throw back to you in a sec. You guys deserve tonight. This is not a victory in a political sense, electorally, I mean, but this is a victory for the good guys. For those of you in this audience that took out your shovels and you dug out of the ditch that was January 6th, when Donald Trump was politically dead by the media, you deserve tonight. For those of you that took out your wallet and your limited budget and gave $30 to Donald Trump when he got convicted a year and a half ago, you deserve tonight. And I hope you enjoy it, because far too often do we just pass by the victories. And I'm not one to be like, okay, no, you tonight should be able to smile and say yes, because you all played a role in this. This is a morale boost. This is us finally saying we can win. We can overcome that. And every single one of you in this audience, God bless you, because you had Trump's back when the knives were out to get rid of Trump after the second impeachment, when they were talking about trying to have a bloody primary.
Well, after that debate, there's no shot Joe Biden's winning. Now Trump needs to come out if they do another debate and just and just tell him what he's going to do.
Loyalty to the MAGA agenda. So I just want to say you guys should enjoy it. We're going to go through it. And also, I'm signing books for those that become members, members.charliekirk.com. Jack, continue.
So Kamala Harris is up. She's on CNN and she's carrying the water. She doesn't have the stones for it. She doesn't have the spine. She's not dropping the knife in. So Kamala Harris could have taken the mantle of the Democrat Party tonight and become the heir apparent, but apparently she's up there. We'll get the clips in a second, but she's up there carrying water, and Anderson Cooper is just giving it to her. Absolutely giving it to her, trying to fight for her future, trying to say that it wasn't a terrible performance. This is bad. This is just really, really bad. And, well, Kamala Harris, what can I say? Some people got it. Some people have that dog in them. You never really did. You were always someone who piggybacked on the accomplishments of others. You're honestly not even a good Democrat.
And one sec, Tyler, and I just want to reiterate this for everybody in the audience. What you have been up against, the smearing and the slandering, even from fellow Republicans, when people said, oh, he's an insurrectionist, we have to turn the page on Trump. Tonight, he showed at the highest level the self-control. Show me a Republican that could have navigated the abortion question as well as Trump did tonight. He talked about the border. He talked about immigration. He talked about the economy. And for those of you that have flown those MAGA flags high and proudly, I see you guys. You watch our show every day on Rev. You are in the grassroots. Those of you that are precinct committeemen, those of you that show up to our Turning Point Action events in Detroit, tonight you could say, I was right, and we're going to prove everyone even more right in November. Okay, I got to write a book right now to Amanda because they just become a member, members.charliekirk.com. Tyler.
I was going to say, there's homework that we all have to do tomorrow, and tomorrow is going to be one of the most important days of the election cycle. Every person here has friends who are Democrats. They have family members who are Democrats. If they're not voting for Trump because they can't bring themselves to it, tell all your friends to be voting, pulling the lever for RFK. Tell them tomorrow. You've got options.
Just to jump the ship.
The Democrats.
The rats are jumping.
While they're jumping tomorrow,
no lie.
The resolve portion right now to say
I'd rather RFK than Trump. I'm sorry.
That's right.
I'd rather RFK than Biden all day.
So, pretty awesome. So, breaking news: Donald Trump just got indicted for murdering an elderly man.
Fact check it.
I want to just play one more here on Real America's Voice as we have them, just as a recap of the vibe. It is the rats are jumping the ship on the Democrat Party. This is the clip of the year. Chris Wallace, who is a snake and a serpent, he has the green light from the oligarchs. Play cut 132.
That the two of them decided after November of 2022 that he was going to seek the presidency when there were so many people who thought he should have turned it over to a new generation. And this has been, quite frankly, a car accident in slow motion that we've seen over and building and questioning it. And, you know,
you helped
as
it, bro.
been pointed out, Joe Biden sought this debate at this remarkably early time because he knew he was losing and he needed to change the narrative. And he did change the narrative. He sunk his campaign tonight.
He changed the narrative, all right, and you believed. You understand, without Donald Trump's base, without you that stood by Donald Trump at those
missed
darkest
it, dude.
moments,
You fucking
when
missed
looked like
it.
there was no political future.
RFK did his own debate, put the screen on, put him next to them, and then had his own stage, dude. It was hilarious.
Her tapes must have been, is what
Hold
Laura,
on, I gotta
Laura
use the
Ingram
rest.
says. I want to get the Chuck Todd here, but Jack, final thoughts here as we are still on Real America's Voice. I got to sign more books for our members, members.charliekirk.com. This one is going to Teresa. Jack.
Look, you folks, we got to remember tonight's a good night, but they are going to try to find a way to fire back at us. I think you're going to see a more unleashed Merrick Garland come up here. If you thought that Merrick Garland was off the chain here, he now knows that he's only got 6 months left. What does a desperate Merrick Garland look like? What does a Merrick Garland who knows he has nothing to lose look like? What do the unhumans running the show who realize that they're up against the ropes, that the American people have completely turned against them, what would they be willing to do? And I keep coming back to this, and I have this feeling in my gut, guys, when all the times that Joe Biden kept mentioning Article 5, Russia, Article 5, Russia. There's something going on there. There's something going on there.
I want to play Chuck Todd, who vindicates all of us. Play cut 138.
You know, one of the things was, would either candidate look like the caricature that the other campaign has been trying to paint of him? And at the end of the day, Joe Biden looks like the caricature that conservative media has been painting. And there were no clips tonight, right? This was, you saw it before your eyes. Look, I don't want to just tell you what I think here, Tom. I've been talking to a lot of leaders in the Democratic Party, electeds, coalition leaders. There's a full-on panic about this performance. Not like, oh, this is recoverable.
Jose, it was funny. So Jose tried himself about to actually cut himself off.
He's got to step aside. There's a lot of that chatter.
It was great, Will. I loved it. I kind of want to watch the whole thing now. I'm not going to lie.
In order to, that Biden could have delivered, if his goal was to try to sort of calm the waters among Democrats. I mean, look,
It's as bad as it gets, everybody, and Trump deserves credit because here's the thing. If Trump would have, there was one moment where if Trump would have interjected, it might have changed the entire narrative. Remember that? When Joe Biden was prodding him and he was like, hey, pal, you're a loser. You know, my son didn't die. All these were rehearsed nonsensical stuff. And Trump just went like this. And CNN said, let's go to a commercial break. And at that moment, it was over. Joe Biden was counting on Donald Trump's backlash and him.
He's changed. He's a changed man, baby.
I got to write another.
Yo, that shit was hilarious.
It's just,
it's remarkable, right? This is a night that will be remembered.
Yeah.
Yo, that shirt is sweet.
Honestly, this is like the strongest Trump has ever looked, and
what's
especially impressive about it is it's not for anything that you'd usually highlight as a Trump strength. Beforehand, all these people talked about the best Trump debate moments are when he has, you know, those quips that he intrudes in on.
No super chats.
Turns out he didn't need any of those. Turns out he could do great just looking distinguished on TV. Turns out Trump is good at being on TV, almost regardless of the rules. Who knew?
I got to play this tape here. Do we have the Kamala Harris tape? She says, it was a slow start. I'm not going to debate that. She says it was a slow start. I'm not going to. You think it was a slow start? By the way, Kamala Harris, I agree with you, Jack. She would have went for the kill. She could have went for the kill, right? Kamala Harris could have been like, she could have been like, maybe we need to have an open convention. By the way, don't be surprised if the crime families of the Democrat Party assemble soon. Here is Kamala Harris. By the way, make no mistake. Look at the aesthetics here. Look at the optics. Her team knows what's going on here. She looks very female presidential here. I just got to be honest. The way they set up this, look at the aesthetics here. Look
at the lean in the chair that she has.
Wait, I want to see, bro. I want to see what he's talking about.
I agree with Charlie. Charlie's right. Charlie's right.
I'm going to be vindicated. The way that they set this up, they said, this is your moment. You can't throw Joe under the bus. Let's play cut 141. And I have to sign a book to Kirby, who just became a member. 141.
Listen, first of all, what we saw tonight is the president making a very clear contrast with Donald Trump on all of the issues that matter to the American people. Yes, there was a slow start, but it was a strong finish. And what became very clear through the course of the night is that Joe Biden is fighting on behalf of the American people, on substance, on policy, on performance.
He is lying.
Joe Biden is extraordinarily strong. And
I'm sorry, on substance and policy and performance tonight, I mean, the president's performance tonight clearly was disappointing for his supporters.
Whoa!
I mean, thank you, Anderson Cooper, for doing I mean, this is the rules have changed, Tyler.
They're trying to make it delusional.
Remember when it was like Trump went through all of it?
95% of the politicians give a shit about us.
His tone was consistent. He didn't get out. He was like this. He was like wave like. And we've seen Donald Trump.
You know, I'd imagine there's a few
like this, right?
people in there that really want to do something good for the American people, but like
kind of got a little bit.
I'd say 90 to 95, 90 to 97% of them, somewhere between there,
destroying the
are
country.
paid politicians.
I just went through this whole debate. I'm up against. I feel bad debating you because you're so out of your mind, and we're wasting.
I wouldn't want to debate Joe Biden, bro. I would want to fucking get him get him in a nursing home
in there and help save it. And so I thought that was actually a really strong moment where people are going to probably gloss over and not talk about it enough. But I thought it was really important and really impactful for Trump to say this is a waste. Debating someone as incompetent as you is a waste. And we got to do this like what 3 or 4 more times? Is that
no? There's only one more. And by the way, Trump should say I'm done.
I thought there was 3.
I'd say I'm done. I would.
Why would you not want to do more?
Well, one in the meantime, until the next one. Meaning like they want to do an August one.
I would say debate anytime you want.
Whatever
Come at
keeps
me,
Joe
man.
Biden in, because that's the other thing. If Joe Biden's supposed to debate, and they can't replace him in the meantime.
This is, I'm trying to understand the path forward here, Jack. So, Jack, if you were to say nominee, not nominee, what I think Kamala Harris, look, that looks like a presidential type thing. That's all. She's not there doing a gaggle. Look at that. She's not there supporting her boy. She's not there doing live hits.
She may be their only option, Charlie. Like I said, why would you throw your chances for 2028 out the window if you're Gavin Newsom, Shapiro, anyone else? This is a real bad situation for the Democrat Party.
Kamala is the one you throw out there if you think we're screwed.
That she's the right, so she's kind of the one where she understands. Her team at least understands, and they clearly understand that she's got the best inside track right now because she's already vice president. She's already got the trappings of the office. She has the incumbency. She has somewhat of a bully pulpit. And this was a moment. So what she's trying to do here is, now there was a much more aggressive move that she could have made to actually call for an open convention. She could have called for an open convention right now and said, let's let the people decide. Well, of course, trying to work it. So that tells me, by the way, she doesn't have it locked up. That behind the scenes, Kamala Harris does not have this locked up. So she's trying to look like a team player, act like a team player. They're like someone who wants the presidency.
They're definitely scared right now, you guys. Like the Democrats and a lot of the Republicans are very scared because they know things are going to change.
The royal we there. This is somebody.
When Trump talks about getting rid of income tax altogether, right? Think about what that means. That means less people in the government to pay for. That means we'll have a very, very small government, which is exactly what we need. There shouldn't be no Democrat, Republican. It should just be people, and that's it.
That is right there. Thank you, Blake. Look at the optics of that. Look at the aesthetics. That is not like a good partner right there. That is single solo shot, not overly emphasizing Biden. Do you disagree?
I think it could be easy to overanalyze this. I think
it was
want to be president. Still, the best way. It was a
fucking haymaker.
Biden's like
to me,
shambling corpse through November. He wins, and then they're like, "Okay, yeah, Biden can't be president," and you shove him aside. You're president now. That's your best odds. She definitely doesn't want an open convention. Then that's how you get.
How
replaced.
does he win now?
Yeah. By the way,
but how does he win?
The great replacement is on.
Like that.
If he wins,
replacement.
People have short memories. You get lucky.
No, this is
you can always get lucky.
This is in video games, by the way. This is called what Democrats are about to do over the next 3 months is in video games what they call mashing the keyboard. They're just gonna mash the keyboard, press every single button that they can think of. They're gonna fire Kamala Harris button. They're gonna fire the World War III is around the corner. And unfortunately, we're gonna see escalation now. We're gonna see escalation in the Middle East. We're gonna see escalation in Asia with basically Taiwan. We're going to see escalation with Russia and by the way, Biden's going to want the escalation because Biden is now desperate to prove himself, to prove I'm a real leader. I'm a wartime leader. I'm going to stand up to Russia. And I'm going to stand up to China. And I'm going to stand up to Iran. And I'm going to stand up to Hamas. And
all these warmongers are pathetic.
Increasingly reckless military action that would in and of itself trigger a third world war.
All right, I have to sign some books here, members.charliekirk.com. Chase, who just became a member, that's members.charliekirk.com. And understand, everybody, the chances are we are not running against Joe Biden. And so we need to enjoy tonight. We need to stay and understand that tonight is a long overdue victory for all of you that have had Trump's back, and then we get to work. We get to work. Gavin Newsom said, quote, we've got to have the back of this president. You don't turn your back on somebody just because of one performance. So the surrogates don't yet have the green light.
They know that he did terrible. It's so
they are
great.
inches away from being able to jump into that position right there. And so Tyler, from a political standpoint, who is easier to beat, Joe Biden or Kamala Harris?
I mean, like I said, I after it's a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush, right? Right now, today, after what you just saw, let's just keep feeling this one out down the track here, right? Like,
no, and you know it's weird when they kind of bury him though, Michael.
Everyone
right?
already hates Kamala.
That was
she's
crazy.
already on the ticket, so she's not going anywhere. So
I like that hat
and
that shirt.
I think Biden weakens everybody.
Didn't think I would get stuck on watching this thing for stream. Yeah, what's up, Chris? I didn't even know you were in here, brother.
Down the road here,
how you doing
you're
tonight?
going to win, and we just have to do the work. Because keep in mind, again, nobody thought John Fetterman had the brain cells to be able to win Pennsylvania. And time kept going and time kept passing and the polls kept not changing. And people were like, wait, how are the polls? I mean, even to this point with Joe Biden, we've looked at the polls and gone, how is it possible that he's, getting 46, 47% in some of these polls? So you have to keep in mind that nothing is a for sure thing. Kamala is equally as competent or incompetent, as you could say, as John Fetterman, as Joe Biden, as Katie Hobbs. The Democrats have the systems in place to win elections.
Oh, nice,
so
bro.
Let's stick with what is not working for them right
You
now.
didn't
Which
even
is
say anything in chat. I didn't even know you were
build
here.
the infrastructure that we need to win.
How's your day
which is
going?
exactly what we're doing here at Turning Point Action.
That and every single day. Okay, I want to get to this. I think we have the tape here. Do we have the black voter panel from MSNBC? By the way, have we seen any flash polls, or are they suppressing the flash polls, Jack? Rush Limbaugh taught us this. When they do not show flash polls, they're not good for their selected candidate.
That's a classic Rush thing.
That is a classic Russian.
The first thing you
Not
see,
Russian, but,
then
Russian.
if they don't go away, Rushism.
Yes, Rushism. L. Rushbo taught all of us that if there is not instant data, the data is no good. Okay, let's play cut 143. Black voters weigh
can we
in
get
on
at
the
least
debate.
2 more likes
in
to
the
get to
meantime,
10?
I have to sign another book who just became a member, members.charliekirk.com. Play cut 143.
Raise your hand for me if you voted for Biden in 2020. And keep your hand up if you're still with him this time around after that debate. Slowly going down.
By the way, I love how they only have 3 people.
Democrats
They don't
might
have
be
to do,
cooked
this
this
hand up,
season,
hand
boy.
down thing. It's just 3 people.
You almost wonder if they just went outside, like outside CNN's HQ in Atlanta. They're like,
But no. So
the focus group.
if you scale that, Joe Biden has lost 66% of the black vote based on that little sample size.
Brexit's happening.
By the way, Jack, what was going on? I'm signing a book right now to Liz, members.charliekirk.com, on Black Twitter tonight. What was going on?
Charlie, there's a word that
Don't say, Jack. Tonight's a great night. Don't even joke about it. What's going on?
No, I know, but I'm not going to joke about it. But people are like, I rock with Trump. I rock with Trump. Trump is my guy. I rock with that guy. I rock with Trump. He's hilarious. This guy, I don't know what he's about, but people said they don't like him, but I think he's hilarious. People, and by the way, yeah, they were making fun of Biden, but I would also point out that there were so many.
You guys want to
people
see
on
here?
Black-
We can check out. There's Twitter Spaces. Where do you go to the Spaces at? Maybe not. I thought I just got a notification saying he just. No, maybe not. All right, we'll just
on
watch
Twitter, and
this.
you see there's lots of screenshots. I think that the golf thing was really humanizing. I thought it was funny. I thought it was, it's like an alpha male talking to another male saying, I seen your stroke, your stroke was good. There's a lot of people who can just
What's up,
relate
chat?
to that type of talk. That's, by the way, actual locker room talk. And everyone saw that Biden cowered, he shrunk away from it, and he lost. And I think that Trump
here
won
it is.
a
Yes.
lot of support tonight in a lot of communities.
So I want to.
Yeah, let's see what they're talking about.
Facilitate a transfer to somebody else? Are they trying to undermine Joe Biden at this point?
I believe it's possible because I got to go back. Let's take a quick trip down memory lane. Elizabeth Warren versus Michael Bloomberg on the debate stage. Okay, is it a stretch for me to say that Elizabeth Warren totally annihilated Michael Bloomberg on the debate stage when they went? She killed him. Left media and right media all agree she dominated him on that debate stage. Tell me why Elizabeth Warren dropped out that out that race shortly after that debate, because she had a visit from President Obama. And I'm saying that to say this: there is definitely a system behind them. President Obama told her to drop out so that Biden could run. There is a system behind Biden, and I believe it could be bigger than Obama. But I don't think it's a stretch to say that they can do the same thing again with Biden and tell him it's time to go after that debate. And that's when Elizabeth Warren won. Biden got annihilated. I could really see them doing it at this point. I didn't see it until tonight. And to see the panic that they're having, they're being, like you're saying, Nick, they're being vocal about it. They're not even hiding it. They're validating all the quote-unquote right-wing
One more like.
extremists that had these conspiracies that he was going to get replaced from day one. Bro, they have to be in their last resort to validate all of our opinions, bro, and quote-unquote conspiracies. So I can see them actually trying to get rid of him. I can see it at this point.
This is not my opinion.
Absolutely. I think a lot of us are on the same page, man. It's hard to find any dissent here, but we're going to try with
Appreciate
Jared
you, Mike. How
Silver.
you doing, brother?
Jared, you told us earlier in spaces before that, yes, maybe Joe Biden had a little bit of dementia, but you were going to vote for him anyway. Does it look like a little bit of dementia at this point?
Yes.
I mean, keep in mind he had
a
a 3-day vacation
It
and
was
then
so good.
a 7-day stay in Camp David where he didn't talk to the media, he didn't do interviews, he didn't go out in public. There was nothing on the schedule, the presidential
He's clearly
schedule.
not rested enough. All right, he needs
Well,
more
RFK
vacation
did
time.
his
It's
own.
clear. Maybe golf.
Right. Yeah, and so you think about all the drugs that he was on tonight. Like, Jared, is this feasible at this point? Are you still thinking he has a little bit of dementia? Is it advanced? Is it too advanced to vote for him now? What are your thoughts, Jared? Welcome to the stage. Jared.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Happy debate night to all who celebrate. To your question, Nick. Again, that was a shit show, but I'll vote for him over Trump. But I hope he's not the nominee. I'll say this: I watched that 95-minute debate, and Nick, I'll be honest with you. I used to get upset at your posts, saying he's senile and stuff. You just reinforced it. All right. I was prepared, to be honest with you, to come on,
he looks weird,
X
Mike.
Spaces
Really
and
weird.
argue with my MAGA friends and say Joe Biden took him to the floor because I think Republicans set the expectations low.
I was genuinely worried about that, Jared. I was thinking that we set the expectations so low that Biden couldn't lose, and now, man, the bar was too high.
Apparently, I mean, I've never seen anything like that before. I'm sorry, that was
Crazy
a
to
cry out
think.
for help, in my opinion. And this is coming from a
Yeah,
guy
definitely. That's
who
for sure, Mike.
Jared.
I agree.
Jared.
It's elder abuse.
Jared.
And
You're cutting in and out more than Joe Biden's brain.
Can you guys hear me now?
There you go.
Yeah, I will say it's elder abuse. I do think it's elder abuse at this point. Look, one of my friends actually just sent me a message saying, Jared, June is now officially Dementia Awareness Month. And, I was like, I sent LOL back to that message. If you look on CNN, if you look at NBC, if you look at MSNBC, Democrat operatives are basically saying replace Joe Biden right now. That has never happened before, out in the public. So, I mean, if the Democrat Party really cares about democracy, they better take out Joe Biden. People from Hillary Clinton, from Joe Biden, if Jimmy Carter aides are still alive, go to Joe Biden and say, sir, thank you for your 50 years of service, but you need to go now.
Yes, you need to go to a
So that's just my
freaking
perspective. I think Governor Westmore of Maryland or maybe a
it's so dumb, dude.
You trust the media and the politicians who've been covering up his mental and cognitive decline? This is the insanity of your life.
Yeah, 1,000%.
Literally, the Wall Street Journal wrote
No matter
a piece,
who you are,
and then the
everybody should have the
Democrats
same
rounded the
opportunity.
wagons and said, this is lies. And now you've seen it for yourself, and you can't deny it. You go, you know what? I'm still going to put my trust in these people who hid this to me and allowed this senile old man to destroy the U.S. border, the U.S. economy, and put us on the precipice of World War III. That's your plan, to trust these same actors.
Well, to be fair, I have said that Joe Biden, I have called him senile in the past. So it's not like but what I'm saying is tonight reinforces that, right? Because it wasn't a 2-minute, he can't say it's a cheap fake, right? That was 95 minutes of Joe Biden looking down, coughing at times. I mean, there was marbles in his throat. I don't know what's happening. And then you have people.
Oh no, they said he has a cold. He has a cold. It's not dementia. He has a cold.
Who's gonna believe that?
Nobody.
I'm sorry.
Nobody.
Kelly,
That's it. They have reached the end of their rope, in my opinion. They have lied for so long, and even the people that were buying it up until tonight are no longer buying it. They're not there. Who is buying this shit? The people that are paying to?
Yeah, that's fake news.
Jared is.
Fake news.
Just watching Kamala Harris talking with CNN's Anderson Cooper on CNN, and they were going at it. That tells you everything about the performance we saw tonight. So I think I think in the
Always.
next few weeks we
Hey, at
may be
least this
having
kid's
a
honest.
space
Whoever this dude is, he's
talking about the
honest.
new Democrat nominee.
He's being
Because
very
I think
honest.
from DNC donors to Hillary Clinton, Jimmy Carter, Obama, Michelle Obama, people going to Joe Biden saying, "You need to drop out, sir, for the best of our country." Because and Prodigal has a point. He has a point.
You really think that, Darlene?
A lot of people.
Here,
I
we
mean,
can
what
mute
does
this for a
this mean
second.
to the Democrat Party? I was just talking to
Wait, I
Congressman
didn't want to do
Nancy
that.
Mace just a few seconds ago, and she was saying, you know, the Democrat Party can't be trusted now because you guys have been lying to people for at least 2 years, saying Joe Biden is up on his game. So
who
that's
do you?
just
So
my
you?
opinion.
So here, hold on. We're gonna leave this for a second. We'll go back to that in a minute. So, Darlene, I'm glad you're in here. Does that mean you are going to be voting for Joe Biden this coming election? I hope you're still in here. Not being rude or anything. We'd just like to know. So, took a test. Alright, TV open this all this. About them saying Trump was lying about the voter fraud stuff, people literally got caught and went to jail for fake. Yeah, no shit, Mike. It's so weird. So, Darlene, are you still in here? Okay, hold on. Oh no, we got ads in 52 seconds. So, Darlene, are you still in here? I hope so. Possibly. If not, we'll go back and listen to this, or we can listen to this one. We got right here. Let's see who. Trump I wasn't being rude to you. I was just asking a question. Yeah, I was just asking you a question. You didn't have to be rude. Socially Democrat. Dude, this lady is being rude. Jimmy, send Biden to the Baja. I was just listening to Don Lucre's Twitter space.
Pointed out is that Obama is in
I
his
don't know,
ear
this
a
lady
lot,
just
right?
started
You know, they're
flipping out
very close,
and then left, I
whether or
think.
not they want to be. And Joe, you know, I don't remember who said the quote, but Joe has the tendency to fuck shit up, and he doesn't care what Obama wants him to do. I'm
No, I
sure
didn't. Send
there
it
are
to you,
many, you
Mike.
know, didn't Obama just go on some trip to smooth something over because Joe recently fucked it up, right? I don't think that Joe Biden cares what Obama wants him to
Yeah,
do. I don't
that's all right.
think he
You know,
cares if
I don't mind
he
having a
probably can't even
conversation with people
comprehend
like
if
that, but
Obama
they
comes
don't
to him
seem to
and
want to
says,
have a
"Joe, you need to
conversation.
step aside." He'll probably
that's all.
literally step one step aside and let him pass him. Okay, like he cannot comprehend what is going on in front of him. We all know it. We've been knowing it. We've been screaming it from the rooftops. People didn't want to believe it. They sit and watch these videos that are created, you know, as propaganda, because that's all it is. All of these jump scenes, cut scenes, whatever, of Joe Biden trying to
Then
string a sentence
send
together.
Biden to
They
the
try and talk about
Baja.
him having a stutter, but when you go back and look at his tapes from 30
Yes,
years
let's
ago, he
get it,
sure didn't
Monica.
talk like this. And as someone who has been personally affected by dementia in my family, this is exactly what it looks like.
What's up,
It
chat?
is sad and unfortunate. As awful of a
On the
human
floor,
being as
Biden's
Joe
team
Biden
pulled
is,
all
and
the
he is an
Democratic people from the
absolutely
images.
awful, terrible, no good human
Dude, they
being.
don't
I'm
know
pretty sure
what to
that's from
do,
a
Mike,
book.
for
Don't
real.
sue me. This is just unfortunate and disheartening that we have gotten to a place in America where we're leading these dementia patients out in front of the world, parading them like a little puppet
It's true.
to
That's
do the
true, Will.
bidding of whoever's actually in charge, because it's not Joe Biden. Joe Biden has no control over this country. Whoever is sitting in on these meetings is controlling it. And he's just out there as a little literal figurehead who has nothing between his ears. And it really just seems like they
Oh, that's her dog.
intentionally did this.
I hear her
And
dog
knew that they
barking
couldn't
in the
continue
background.
to hide it and they needed it to come out sooner rather than later. And I guess I'll end it there because the girls are going to have a freak out over something.
Yeah, we're going to have at least we're trying to work out the details here. We're going to have a pretty big guest coming on here, a pretty big guest in the Trump orbit. That'll be hopefully coming here shortly. I just got a text message asking if we were still live and if they could join. I was like, yeah, still going. So we'll see. We'll see if that actually happens here. But, you guys will definitely enjoy it if we can make it happen. I'll keep trying. But anyway, Prodigal, before we go back to you, I want to go to a different voice on the stage here. Independent up here on stage. You call yourself a former recovered Dem. Is that after tonight? Or,
No. No. It started with the severe winter of illness and death.
Yo, if you guys have it yet, could
the
you please make sure to
unvaccinated
hit
was
that
going
like for
to
me?
do, and I've been recovered ever since those words came out of Joe Biden's mouth. I watched the debate today, basically at a local invitee dinner
Poor
that
Joe
I went
Biden.
to with some Republicans, actually. And honestly, I'm just going to say it. Trump came tonight and looked presidential. Flat out.
Yeah, he
Point
did.
blank, bottom line, period. And if anyone says that he was not speaking and acting presidential, they're just lying. Joe Biden, everyone knows, at least if you have been paying attention anyway,
They're waking
that the man has been
up.
showing signs of dementia since about 3 months after he took office, and probably even before then, but he was in his basement. The Democratic Party is in a panic, and this is why. I'm going to tell you why. Because they thought they could prop that guy up after sitting him in Camp David for 7 days and putting I don't know what in him. And it didn't work. And you know what? They deserve everything they get. And they deserve the fact that they're going to lose this election. I don't care if they put Gavin Newsom or
Yeah, they lost. They're done.
Whip out, Michelle
They're cooked.
Obama. Like, that's not going to
They're
work.
cooked.
The
They're
point
cooked.
is that now that party, because of their hubris, put that dementia old man on the stage and pretty much told everybody that you have been doing elder abuse and he hasn't been running the country. Anyone that watched that debate tonight knows that. And that includes Democrats, right? I'm talking about
Yes,
the
it
ones
is,
that are not
Monica.
in the
Yes,
know.
it
I'm
is.
talking about the ones that follow the party line, and yeah, whatever they do is great. Yeah, okay. They lied to you. And they've been lying to you. And honestly, they've been lying to you for the past, give or take, 4 years plus. I could
That same
go
chick, she's
on. I don't
going
want to
off.
make this a vaccine show, so I won't do that. But trust me, people are so, you talking about woke? No, they're awakening, because they're tired. People can see, they can see what's coming past the border. They know the effects in their communities. They hear about these young girls being murdered by illegal immigrants. We had 2 deputies within our 7 county local communities that have been shot and
Crazy.
killed within the past 7 days. This is running around Michigan, and on top of that, I could even go further. You talking about putting Gretchen Whitmer there? I don't think so, not after today, because basically in the Michigan House, they passed a budget that actually cuts teachers' pensions. This is Democratic control Michigan House and Senate and with the governor.
Guys,
So you know what? You guys got to slow down and realize that you went too far. I'm talking to the Democrats. You went too far, and
Too
now
far.
this country is going to correct itself because it has to.
Did have a cold because
So,
they just
guys,
was on
just
stage
came out here. The
morning.
CNN post-debate
No, you didn't have a
poll
cold. That was a
has
lie.
Trump winning in an absolute landslide. Trump in the post debate poll, 67%.
There's no
Biden,
video, Will.
33%.
It's like a talking. It's like a space.
I don't
It's like
even
a
know how
Twitter
it was
space.
33%, but keep in mind this is
Yeah.
CNN's
Okay. Hold on 1 second.
post debate poll. That's pretty remarkable to me. What do you think, Dom? Is that a shock to you?
It's funny. I did say, not, well, it's so funny. Back in like March, I was telling people, I said, man, we're about to witness the submission of leftist media. And people thought I was crazy. And I saw it as soon as that town hall hit, because I said, man, if you look at it, I said, not only they gave Trump the town hall, and I know people didn't like how he was treated on it. I said, but man, it's a whole lot better than what he was getting. And I said, it's a sign of things to come. And I saw it. And my main conspiracy of this is a conspiracy that they need Trump back, bro. Beyond anything political, they need him back. Do you know how many offices CNN had during President Trump? Did you know, like, their office in Atlanta, Georgia shut down after Trump was gone?
Here, Mike,
they
do
are
this.
literally losing
You
millions
can
of dollars
clip it.
every day with
Just
him not
clip
being
what you
president
want me to
because
watch and send
Trump
me the
gets
clip,
clicks,
and I'll
man.
play it on here.
They need him back.
Yeah.
They need him back, absolutely.
That's actually a really good point. Yeah, I mean, because nobody has been excited about Joe Biden for as long as Joe Biden has existed.
I can
He
show
just,
you.
there were just a lot of people. The media had, I would say, successfully
That way
demonized
you
Trump,
can
and
see
I
it.
think people have woken up now, and they see who the clear choice is going to be, which is really exciting. It had to come at some point, but tonight clearly was a tipping point, the tipping point that was needed. I don't think this night could have gone any better for President Trump at this point, besides the fact that it looks like Joe Biden
Young
is going to
Turks?
have to
Okay,
pull
we'll
out.
watch them in a minute.
I mean, that's what it looks like. How do you come back from this?
Yeah, you don't. Let's see what the Young Turks have to say. That's funny. I didn't think about that.
Every day, the Young Turks look.
When you rule for X, Y, or Z, you're going to get paid. So no one has to say a word. Okay. And by the way, there's already a version of this that exists. And that's why the Supreme Court ruled this way. It's for all the ex-politicians and the ex-generals. That's super interesting.
I don't
Get to
think
that
this
in
is
a
live.
second. But also remember, guys, there's super rich donors that are paying for all the vacations, the homes, and all the gratuities. For
I don't think this is live at all. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, they're just replaying the debate. I don't know what the hell's going on. I don't know, it's being dumb. Yeah. I might have to just do this. I don't know. I think that's why it's not working. History.
Catastrophe.
I'm starting at the beginning.
I know you were looking at your watch during the dignified transfer, but did you really forget about the 13 Americans who were killed in Afghanistan, or the thousands that you abandoned and left behind because of that
Crazy.
disastrous withdrawal? This debate made one thing very clear. Joe Biden is not fit to be president. Donald Trump clearly is. The Drudge Report sounding the alarm on what they're calling Operation Replace Biden. Dems scramble with 130 days to go. Debate catastrophe, or as Politico put it, Biden is toast. Calling it now. Biden stumbles, rambles in opening of debate.
Biden's
Now with
toast,
reaction.
guys.
He is mentioned as a potential vice presidential
Done for.
selection for former President Donald Trump, Senator J.D. Vance from Ohio, RNC co-chair Laura Trump. Good to see you both. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Laura, great to see you.
Thank
How are
you. Great to see you.
Okay, first I need to apologize to you. I did not know your life story. Everybody in the world read your book except me, because I get a pile of papers this high every day to study for 4 hours being on air. And I saw your movie. Wow. I was so inspired by your life. I was blown away. And amazing life story. So what does it mean to you to be considered to be Donald Trump's vice president on top of that story?
Well, look, man, it's an incredible honor just to be here and just to have the opportunity to serve the people of Ohio, of course, to be considered as vice president. I mean, my life has been crazy. And it's a testament to how
I really
incredible this
want him to
country
be
is, and a
vice
kid like
president.
me has
I'd
been
be
given the
fucking.
opportunities that I've been given. But
That'd be
you know,
great.
whether it's in the Senate or some other role, I kept on thinking about how this debate would look through the eyes of someone who grew up like I did. You know, I remember my grandmother negotiating with a Meals on Wheels person to get more food so that she could sort
That
of
was in
share
the
some
movie.
with me. That
Yeah.
was in the movie. And you know, you think about this when Joe Biden talks about how inflation is all Donald Trump's fault. Inflation was 1.4% when Donald Trump was president. And you know, grocery prices have gone up 30, 40, 50% depending on the item that you're talking about. That hurts real people. That means real people can't afford to get the food that they want for their kids and their grandkids. The contrast between these two was so extraordinary. The energy of Donald Trump, the meandering of Joe Biden, the fact that Joe Biden seemed to forget his talking points. Donald Trump was in command of the facts. Sean, I just think this was such a remarkable contrast for the American people to see. And more importantly than any debate performance, this shows the difference in how they're going to govern. Who do you want to be the president of the United States for the next 4 years? Watching this debate performance, I think the obvious answer is Donald Trump.
You know, and that does bring us to the point about your father-in-law and the fact that he had such a command of issues. Now, a lot of people were asking me in the lead up to tonight, how do I think that Donald Trump's going to do? Well, I happened to be with him about 2 weeks ago. As you know, I did an interview.
Right.
We did about an hour and 15 minutes. Then he went to do an interview with Dr. Phil for about an hour and 15 minutes. Then he went to a dinner for about 2.5 hours. And he was so conversant on every issue. And he was so well versed and none of it rehearsed. There was a lot of talk. He barely prepared for this debate. And he seemed so ready and so dialed in and so in command of the issues. Nothing fazed him. Some people thought he would react to Joe or the moderators. He didn't react to anything.
Well, and I loved that about this performance. If you watched him the whole time, people said, what Donald Trump are we going to get? He was calm. He was
I don't
concise.
think so.
He was direct. Everything that
I think
he
it has
said
to be like on
resonated
YouTube
with
and
the
stuff.
American people. And a lot of times
But this is
people wonder,
Hannity.
well, what is he doing to debate prep? You just said it, Sean. This is his life. This is what he does every single day. And I think his quote was, I've been preparing
I'm
for
probably
this
gonna
my
get
whole
off
life.
here pretty soon anyway.
If you
Well,
were
probably in
president
like
for
a
4
half
years
hour,
and you
20
actually were a
minutes.
successful president as he was, you do understand the issues. You understand what needs to happen. You understand how to get this country
We had a
back.
good stream,
You
though. This was
understand
a
where
really
we've
good
gone
one.
astray and what Joe Biden has done that has destroyed this country. And so he, of course, had command of the entire debate because of that. But to
Yeah.
JD's point, look, we have
I should be able to put
huge
like Spectrum and
contrast
stuff
on
on
our
here.
hands now. When you look
Yeah,
at
because
these
I got
two
like
men
I
on
got
the
all
stage, and
kinds
I
of
think
different.
that's
I
why
got
this
like
debate was so vital for the American people.
I think I have like
You almost didn't
USA,
need to watch it, Sean,
TNT,
with the sound on to see the
TBS,
difference between these two men. It was
and then
weakness
Bleacher Report. You
versus
can watch
strength.
live
We
pay-per-views on
need
there.
strength right now in this country. We need to get this country back. The American people are desperate for it, and it's Donald Trump who will deliver.
I am going to show a montage in a short period. Robert, do we have that montage available? Because it was Joe Biden when he wasn't even speaking, when it was split screen and he was on camera, and that stare.
That's a picture,
that
Mike.
It just seemed like he wasn't there. And
No, but I
we
don't think I'm
actually have
allowed
to show
to
it
though.
now. Yeah. Now, I want to talk about this. So when we cut this, I said to my staff, I said, guys, I just want you to get Joe Biden when Donald Trump is
Yeah, I think I
speaking
can get in trouble, like
and
get a strike for it.
and just staring into
Rather not
space.
risk it.
I mean, if I was going to use words, I'd say it was like the stare of an empty vessel. And I really
These aren't
am
deep fakes
wondering,
either.
this
No,
is
because
the
I don't
world
want them
here.
to strike my channel for no reason. I'd rather not risk it.
It's kind of amazing because for 4 years, I pointed this out before the 2020 election. You know, we all these should be self-evident. All men and women created by the thing.
You know the thing.
You know the thing. And nobody would pay attention, and I got hit by the liberal media. Oh, that's so unfair of Sean Hannity. I'd say I was kind of vindicated. Like our
It was
coverage of the
just a
Russian
picture,
hoax
Mike.
after
It just
3
shows me
years,
like
we
a
got
picture.
it right, they got it wrong. What does this mean going forward? What are the Democrats going to do?
You should be able to
They're
go
gonna
on the
desperately try to
thing
get
and
Joe
clip it,
Biden off
like
the ticket
on the
because he
actual
was such a
video on
disaster
YouTube.
tonight. But they can't. It's too late. They have let their voters. Basically, they gave them one choice. They gave them the Joe Biden choice, and that's what they're stuck with in presenting this case to the American people. And it's so funny, Sean. You hear Democratic operatives now, and we have the spin room behind us. They're talking about how they don't want Joe Biden on the ticket anymore. Well, what is a bigger threat to democracy than running this entire primary process and then effectively throwing a guy off because he had a disastrous debate performance? This is the choice that Democrats have offered the American people. I'm proud that Republicans offered a different choice, and I think they're going to make the right one.
Lori, you
Yeah,
get the last
for
word.
sure.
Yeah, I think that this is
Oh,
obviously
okay.
very
Let me,
clear to the American people. Now, if it wasn't before, if you were an independent voter and you watched that debate, there is no doubt you came out
That's for sure.
understanding that Donald Trump is the leader we need in this country. He was the only leader on that debate stage. And honestly, Sean, when I watched it, there were moments I actually felt sad about Joe Biden. And then I thought more, and I said, you know what? I'm not going to be sad.
It's still
I'm
live,
actually
so
sad
it
about
won't let
Joe
them
But
do
you know
it.
what else I felt? Anger.
Yes.
I felt anger because, you know, President Xi and Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un and the mullahs in Iran who Biden has been sucking up to, they're all watching this and they see a weak United States of America
Yeah,
under
that's
his,
true.
quote, leadership. And he surrendered in the war on terror by abandoning Israel in many ways and not supporting their offensive efforts to win
It
their
was
war
like, yeah, I
against
don't
terror.
know if I don't know if you can clip when it's live or
the
not.
mainstream media propped Joe Biden up. They allowed him to hide in his basement. We all tried to
Yes.
call this out in 2020.
We did.
We were all told that we were crazy. I was told that
Yeah.
I was making fun of a stutter that nobody knew Joe Biden had. This is the problem. Whenever you do not
Isn't
allow the
that
American
Trump's,
people transparency, you get this.
All right. Thank you both. I really appreciate
niece
it.
or
All right, Senator
daughter
Vance
or
and Laura
something?
Trump, thank you.
Trump's
By
daughter?
all accounts, it was a bad night for Joe Biden and
Yeah,
a
it was
great night for
terrible.
Donald Trump. Democrats.
It was so bad for Biden, dude. Let's see. There's 800 watch.
Fundraisers
for himself. Can you hear me?
Yeah. No. I was just saying that.
Okay.
No,
Yeah, I just forgot I was
Yeah,
gonna go.
yeah, he's
this is
and
my old
it's one
boss.
of the very first appearances of the Democrat governor
It's his
running
attorney.
Josh Stein with him. It's glorious for us Republicans. I'm super excited for it. They cannot outrun what happened tonight. It's a good thing for North Carolina. Trump only won here by 1.3% in 2020. It's going to pull his numbers really high in North Carolina. They're not going to make the money. Josh Stein is going to lose to Mark Robinson. And I believe, Javon, to your point, that Roy Cooper may be one of the people they talk through for a candidate. And I'll tell you why. We have I think the 11th largest economy. He's been a 2-time Democrat governor in North Carolina. He's worked through supermajorities with Republicans, and he's close to Biden. He he gave Biden the CDC director, our former quack, who ran North Carolina during COVID. So to me, this is a glorious moment. Others may not see it this way. Tomorrow's going to be fabulous for the North Carolina Republicans, and we were excited to see this because everyone in this room, has seen the elder abuse that the Democrats have put on all of us during COVID, and now it comes back around, and we see this guy on stage, this clown, who honestly is so pathetic and heartbreaking. I also have a father who was elderly. To see someone be put up there and castigated by all of America just to
No,
make
it
a
won't let me
point.
click it,
And
Mike.
just the last point I'll make is, what karma is this? They've divided the country for 4 full years, and now they're going to divide their party.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like that is the case. And so I want to go around and I want to ask the audience here, for anybody that hasn't chimed in with this yet, will Biden be replaced, and how or who will he be replaced with? Those are the two big questions here. And before I go to another more broad, interesting question here, I'll go to Lacey because I know you've been waiting with your hand up for a while. Lacey, go ahead.
Hey, Nick. Really quick because I'm at work. One, I wanted to ask, and I tried asking in the comment section, if everyone noticed that Biden had bullet points. He was always like, and one, and two, and three. So, I want to notice if you guys noticed that as well. Two, in regards to, oh God, I can't remember his name. I forgot his name. Anyways, in regards to Biden wiping his nose and all that, just a little tidbit, when you become a senior citizen, the elasticity in your sinus cavities get weak. Therefore, you start draining more and your nose starts running. So that's a little tidbit. And my last one was, I don't remember, but go Trump.
Yeah. So I wanna go to Dom. I'll get you in here. Dan, appreciate you sticking around with it. Bricks, you're free to jump in if you're still here too. Anytime. I can't see your mic whether or not it's muted or unmuted. But anyway, Dom, is it better for Joe Biden to kind of bow out rather than go down in a flaming ball of shit in November at the ballot box? I mean, which one is less humiliating in your mind? And are they going to take that into account? Is he going to take that into account?
To try to, at least.
So I'm saying the bowing out might be less humiliating, but I like what a lot of the other speakers are saying. He's working in his own interest. I think he's going to do what he's doing tomorrow, and he's going to continue to get this money up. He's about to launder this money, get himself straight, push it out so they can prepare. I almost think they're about to go ahead and bow out the whole Democratic Party and prepare for, it's going to be hard for Republicans to believe this, but possibly 2028. And the money that they earn right now is going to be used for their next candidate because it's just that over. That could be a possibility. That Joe Biden's job is to get as much money as he can to help assist the next candidate of the future.
Yeah, so guys, it has been a fantastic space tonight. I've had a great time with it. It's been extremely stressful. We had Roger Stone. We had Nancy Mace. We had Rich McCormick. We've had Sebastian Gorka. We've had countless other big MAGA names. And, I certainly appreciate everybody being here. And by the way, so Trump actually just jumped on Trump Force One, departed Atlanta after his massive victory, heading to Virginia now for an event tomorrow.
He's a dog.
Damn,
wow.
he must feel really good right now.
He's a dog.
I can't even imagine. I don't think even he expected a win this big. And if you're
I think
if
he
you're
did.
Biden,
He did.
you're
He
sticking in,
1000%
and you're going to continue running for whatever reason. I think you're going to have to find any reason in the world to not have a second debate. There has to be some sort of, because it's not going to get any better from here, folks. He spent 7 days cooped up at Camp David with nothing on his schedule, no interviews, not talking to any media, nothing. His schedule was totally empty. All he had to do was, not look like a senile old man on stage. They gave him all the resources, all the time to do that, and he still could not do it.
Because
I don't think there's any recovery from here. It seems like the entire panel agrees. We've had liberals up here that have been saying the same
Did you
thing.
see that tag that they fed him the questions? Did you see that video you're tagged in by one of the memers? And it said that Aaron Burnett basically just slipped on CNN and said he had the questions, he had this, he had that. And then you see her pause and then she goes on and talks about something else. You're tagged in it. I'll try and post it in the Purple Pill. But basically, a live segment 10 minutes ago.
Golly. But that wouldn't even surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me that the performance was so, this piss poor, even with the debate questions given to him ahead of time. And really there weren't any questions that came up that they didn't expect. I mean, I pretty much could have named which questions were going to be asked tonight.
Oh,
It wasn't very
John
difficult. You don't have to be
posted
paying
was
too much attention to, to have guessed that. They were very, very, very basic. And he couldn't even take the basic questions.
On
Go
that
ahead,
bingo,
Stephanie.
and the only reason why we didn't is because Trump was muted. He didn't get to tell him to shut up. Okay, I'm really disappointed about that, and he didn't mention the guy shitting his pants.
That's all right.
Yeah,
We
that was
don't need
that
that.
was
We just
a
needed to
missed
be real.
opportunity there.
I'd
Yeah,
rather have
Biden
Trump just kill him with policy.
sort of. I mean, he took jabs at Trump too. He honestly, Joe Biden took more petty ad hominem attacks at Trump than Trump did to Joe, and I think that
Yeah.
kind of surprised people too. But it gave off angry, senile vibes.
Yeah, it
That's
did.
what it sounded like. It sounded like he couldn't control
really
his
did.
emotions, and so he started.
All right, you guys. My headset is about to die, so I really, really do appreciate you guys stopping by and hanging out with me tonight. We'll try to go live a little more often on here. I know I don't do it as much, and I really need to start doing it a little more. But until next time, we'll see you guys later. Have a great one. Peace.